Previously on Schaeffer and Sliwa.
Preller, when he's made these moves, look at Mason Miller, look at Juan Soto. They've all had control. He took huge swings for pieces that were controllable. But you know where the Brewers and Padres are similar? Neither has won a World Series.
But the Padres were never in this spot like Milwaukee. Going into the trade deadline where you feel like there's 2-3 teams coming out of the NL, it's like the Padres have used the trade deadline to really increase their chances of making noise.
Now live from the studios of San Diego Sports 760.
It's Schaeffer and Sliwa.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Schaeffer and Sliwa. Final show, Alan, for you and I. Not ever. You don't believe, but before the trade deadline. Before the trade deadline.
Probably not for you, but for
I'm
me
doing
and
6
you.
shows between now and Monday.
I believe that. I believe every second of
I'll
that.
do tonight, Saturday, Sunday. I might do a Monday morning on YouTube.
Yeah, you
Just
should.
why not?
You should recap
Life's
everything.
for a living, right?
Wait, the deadline is on Monday,
3
correct?
p.m.
Okay.
Pacific. By the way,
You cut a couple of those shows in. You're good then, because the deadline's not until Monday.
you're right.
It's a little kind of overdoing it there.
It's probably overdoing
No, it's not
it.
overdoing it.
By the way, Brent might be Wally pipped because we have Jack Powers, who was helping out earlier today, doing the updates. He's
Good
behind the-
update.
Brent, by the
Solid
way,
update.
First of all, Jack, it is great to have you. Secondly, Brent is never not here. I've worked in this building for over 9 years, and he was not here one day because he got his dog Peanut because he had to pick up Peanut. I'm like, is that an excuse? You got to go get your dog?
I remember you even saying, I remember at that time you sent out a tweet and said, listen, figure it out. And you even said, just do it from wherever you're picking up your dog. And I was like, John, I don't know if that's really kind of nice to say, but that's how committed you were.
I will say that day when Brent wasn't here and my former co-host was behind the glass, it was an S show. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, which showed the value of Brent. However, if Jack does a good job today, Brent, it's been fun. I know you've worked every day for 9 years, but it's going to go well. Jack, good. Jack, by the way, spots for us on San Diego State football in the booth.
That's right.
He's been spotting for me for the last 2 years.
Good work, Jack. Good start. Let me just say that.
Good start.
Don't screw it up, bro. Don't get now. All of a sudden, I feel like you're inflated.
Wait.
I feel like his ego is like I've never seen before.
We'll bring it down when something gets
I'm
messed
not
up.
too confident. Don't worry.
Look at it this way, Jack. My first year in this building, and Alan, you've been in multiple facets of radio. You talked about it yesterday. You worked in sales for a long time. You've also worked on air. When I first got to the building, I was running the board for Mark Willard and Rich Ornberger, Mark and Rich, on 1360 for about a year. I was such a fish out of water, dude.
Running the board?
Oh my gosh.
I've never. That's like the only thing I think in the radio world I've
it's
never
hard,
touched.
man. Every 20 minutes I get a call from Brian Long, the program director. He goes, the mics are hot. The ads aren't running. You're on the air. You're off the air. There's I'm like, my bad. Like, it was bad, dude, because I didn't have that so Brent makes it look easy, but it's not really as easy as it's been made to look.
It's scary.
It is scary. All right, we have updates.
You got our lazy asses that just give an opinion and we're done.
We complain about everything.
And 60% of the time we forget to just hit our mic on. That's all they ask us to do.
Brad, turn my mic on. All right, we have updates everywhere related to the trade deadline. Can I start here real quick, Alan? Because I just saw this before we came on the air. Cash Mayfield is the #1 pitching prospect in the organization. He has been scratched from tonight's start in Fort Wayne. Okay, take that for what it's worth. I mean, he might have a flu. He might be pitching in relief.
Sure.
He may be vacationing. I don't know if you typically would vacation in season, but Cash Mayfield was supposed to start. He will not start. Just speculating. Would you read into that at all with this being 3 days out from the trade deadline?
I would. I would just read into it because the trade deadline's coming up. I'd read into it because I don't know if you know this, but AJ Preller is not too concerned with youngsters and has shown in the past that he'll 100%. Trade anybody at any time.
100%.
So I think it'd be really, really difficult not to read into it. Now, it might not be anything, but the timing of that, for us not to connect some dots, I think we'd be disingenuous. Again, I'm just looking at who AJ Preller is, what he's done in the past, the trade deadline coming up on Monday, the Padres kind of clearly in this buy mode, whether you agree or disagree, it looks like they're going to be adding to it. So that's interesting. That's an interesting wrinkle right there.
Can I ask you this about buying? Because this is a serious question. I can ask you, right? We're close enough.
You cannot.
We went to Monterrey, Mexico together. I can ask you about buying.
We stayed in a hotel room together.
I thought you were dead. at one point. Jack, it's unbelievable how Alan sleeps. He sleeps with these like earbuds in.
Listen to me, Jack.
I seriously leaned over him to make sure his heart was beating.
Let me tell you why he's good at radio. It's because he exaggerates like
Everything.
I've never seen before.
Everything. No, but it did happen. Because you remember I opened the blinds. It was making all this noise to make sure you were alive. Like, it's the World Cup and the dude's like sleeping in.
What are we doing?
We're there for 2 nights.
Brother, it was like 8:18 in the morning. Okay?
You said we're getting up at 7.
It wasn't that big of a deal. The World Cup doesn't start for 12 hours.
It was at 10 p.m. He's right.
It was literally at 10 p.m.
But I did look at his, I'm kid you not, I looked at his chest to see if his heart was beating. Because I'm like, how am I going to explain if Alan died in the same hotel room in Mexico?
Don't put, I'm forgetting what they're called. What the hell are they called?
The earbuds?
Not the earbuds. The
what are they?
The hell are they called?
What are you talking about? Where you can't hear?
Aids? Yeah, they're not hearing aids. Anyways, don't put those on your ears because if you put them on, bro, you're going to bed. You can't hear a word. You have no idea what day it is.
I was amazed by your ability to sleep in Mexico. But let me ask you this seriously. We believe the Padres are buyers, right? You love this.
Yes.
We believe the Padres are buyers.
Yes.
And we believe that the Tigers in the American League are sellers, right?
Yes.
Because of what we're hearing about Scooble. Would you believe today, Fangraphs, Alan? The Tigers have a 25% chance of making the postseason.
They have a higher percentage.
And the Padres have a 19% chance. The Tigers are definitive sellers.
Yeah.
From what we're being told.
I think they've already started.
They've already, have they? Maybe. I haven't been paying close attention. But the Padres were led to believe are going to be, even if they're like conservative buyers, they're going to be buying.
Are they just higher because the AL?
I think so.
They just feel like the AL is easier to get into than the NL?
Yeah, and even in their own division, dude, like if you look right now in the Central,
maybe 5.5 back or something like that.
6.5 out in their division. So it's not impossible, but
they are selling
games.
But they are selling.
But they are selling. But does that change your opinion on what the Padres should be doing if the Tigers actually have a better chance of getting to the postseason than San Diego mathematically?
All right, we had this conversation earlier in the week, and man, you were killing me there. Earplugs, by the way. I don't know why.
Earplugs. Thank you.
I can't remember earplugs.
Earbuds. Yeah.
So one of the things that we got it. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
So we got that sound. We do it at 3:15. Yeah. We got some sound on Jeff Passan. We said this a little bit earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And I think this is 2 ways of looking at the trade deadline. If you told me the San Diego Padres decided, hey, we don't care that we're a couple games out from a wild card spot. We don't believe that this team, if the goal is to try to compete for a World Series, we're just not that team.
Sure.
And if all I hear from all these front office people from the San Diego Padres, they throw around that word very loosely, trying to win a World Series, trying to win a World Series.
Yep.
Well, if that is the absolute goal, does anybody really think right now that this is the team to go make a World Series run? I don't think it is.
No, I don't either.
Okay. So if that's not the goal, and let's take some of these other teams like Detroit or some of these other teams that might be in the mix, but they're saying, yeah, but number one, we're not guaranteed to make a playoff spot. And number two, even if we got there, how the hell are we going to make noise against some of these other teams?
Like Nats or Marlins or Cardinals or something?
Yeah, I'm just giving you an example, right? Or even Detroit. Detroit's a good example. They have a higher percentage.
Yeah.
But I think what we have done, you and I, and not all Padre fans, I probably still think this is like a 60-40, 60% say buy, maybe 40% are like, why are we doing this?
Right.
If you and I think what we've done is our goal is not to win a World Series. Our goal is to make the playoffs.
That's what we're stating our position from.
Which is why we're saying buy. But nobody's saying buy because you're a piece or two away from competing for a World Series.
Right.
What we're saying is just get to the playoffs, do the sign of the cross, and hope that there's a miracle that comes into play, which we've seen in baseball before, that things like that can happen. But so I say that because I'll go back to what I said. You're buying not because you think Milwaukee's buying for a completely different reason than the Padres would be buying.
Yeah, I mean, they're positioning themselves for the World Series.
Tampa would be buying for a completely different reason. Now, you had a lot of teams over these last handful of years, 5 years or so. We had Wayne Randazzo on yesterday who was basically saying, like, it's not done that way anymore, where teams are just trying to get in, and you're like, actually,
kind of is.
Here are some squads that won 80-plus games,
Arizona,
maybe won 90, and got to Texas, I think, was in that mix. So I think you're buying right now. So it doesn't change anything for me, but I just want to make sure that I clarify here. We're basically saying buy
to get
into the playoffs.
But here's the other thing that we're saying, and correct me if you're saying something differently. I'm saying this is what I think AJ Preller is going to do. I'm not speaking from a position as if I'm the general manager.
But Preller, I think, is an easy one to predict.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he
he's
has
an easy
shown
one
his
to predict.
card. So if the Padres had the most conservative GM in baseball, I would be speaking differently. They happen to have a very aggressive GM, and that's why I'd be surprised if they did more selling than buying. But who knows? What difference does one day make? They did not play well yesterday. They lost a half game in the standings for whatever it's worth. Are they in a position where they need to win this game today? If they don't, they're back to 500. The games matter. If they were to lose the next 3 days, you're getting swept by San Francisco and you're 2 games under 500, are you still in the same category? Or would that change what you're going to do as an organization? We'll probably change it if they lose the next 3 days.
Do you think anything changes between now and Sunday?
I mean, you're going to have to win a game or two, I would think.
So you think if they got swept on Sunday, they all of a sudden become sellers? Which, by the way, listen, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not telling you that's crazy.
Would you sell if you got swept by San Francisco at home and fell 2 under?
This is the thing I don't like. I don't like that these last 10 games are dictating everything. What they do.
Right, and we don't know if they are dictating. They may already have a plan in place.
Mm-hmm. But it seems like these last 10 games were kind of dictating. Now,
yes.
I think it was going to be either a colossal failure or colossal success that was probably going to, make this thing extreme one way or the other. So we'll see what happens.
All right. David J. from MadFriars is a great resource on the Padres system. We can ask him about Cash Mayfield being scratched and what the Padres system looks like as they potentially look to buy. Plus, Kevin Acee will join us at 5 p.m., David J. at 4 p.m. We'll talk some SDFC at 5:30 as well. Stay with us. The latest on Mason Miller from Jeff Passan on the other side on Schaeffer and Sliwa. San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, San Diego Sports 760 has 9 chances to win $1,000 every weekday with a bonus bucks giveaway. That's every hour, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. Listen for the keyword, then enter it at sportssd.com. Your next chance to win $1,000 coming up after 4 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760.
All right, so Jack, I don't think you realize this, but Alan's particular on the music that we play coming back from break.
Oh, no, I'm in trouble.
No, you're not.
No, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. You'll likely be able to maintain your position.
Okay.
You just know the page. You know what you have a tendency of doing? You don't know when to shut your mouth sometimes.
Well, I wasn't saying it critically.
I could just go to him at the break and say, hey, listen, we have, there's
some reggae.
A whole page here that we have for the show. But instead you're like, Alan is very particular about the music.
Yes, I did do that, didn't I?
And it's probably John who's particular about it.
By the way, how about the other day?
I like that you do like reggae.
I love reggae.
That to me is.
Do you remember Monday we started the show? I'm like, hey, I didn't remember my internet in Philly when I did a show from Philly on Monday. It was terrible. Phenomenal. And I blamed my nephew for gaming. He was listening to the show when I said that. And then I told my brother, I'm like, I didn't. I'm like, it's part of the show. I'm like, I wasn't being serious.
Oh, poor little guy.
Yeah, so he was like, no, he understood. I'm like, did he though? Because I basically threw him under the bus and was like, you playing video games is why I couldn't do my radio show.
So here's what I'm a little confused at. The way you said that, I can't tell whether you feel bad that he found out or you wanted to like emphasize to your nephew, like, hey, listen, brother, when I'm at the house next time,
no internet. There's
no gaming over here. And I want to reiterate that. Which one was it? Because it started off sympathetic and then it ended up like, you stuck your chest out.
The part I felt bad about is I don't even think he was playing video games at the time I was doing the show. But I blamed him for playing video games at the time of the show.
It was good. It was good radio. Look good.
That's exactly right. Which is my style on air.
Which is typically also too that you want iHeart to believe that you had nothing to do with a bad 3-hour connection on a radio show from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. in San Diego, California, which is a pretty good sized market.
When you put it that way. Yeah. All right. Can we hear from Jeff Passan? He goes on the Pat McAfee show. Now, Pat McAfee is not the one asking this question. It's one of his cronies on the show. Mm-hmm. They're asking about Mason Miller's future. Listen to this.
Can Mason Miller still be Deller? Or the Padres' recent success, are they not going to be selling anymore?
So when Mason Miller's name was hottest, it was before teams understood what the ask was. And AJ Preller, the president of baseball operations for the Padres, is very clear at the beginning of any deal about what he wants. Like he will communicate openly. And in this case, when he was talking with interested parties, he said to them, nobody in your organization can be off limits. And so when you say something like that to the Mariners, for example, that means that Cade Anderson is in play. Cade Anderson's the best pitching prospect in the minor leagues right now. Do they really want to give him up for a closer? I mean, that was the kind of deal that the Padres made last year, getting Mason Miller and giving up Leo DeVries, one of the best prospects in the whole game. And the industry looked at that like, wow, that for a closer? Is that really the right thing to do? So what the Padres have right now, value-wise on Mason Miller, does not line up with what the rest of the industry sees. But we're still a few days away from the deadline, guys. And you know that prices go down. And if the Padres feel like they need to get more rotation pieces or they need to get another bat, Mason Miller and Adrian Morejon are going to bring back the most and would be, if either is dealt, the best relief pitcher on the market right now.
But it's interesting how he positioned it, Alan, because he said that as the Padres have needs, they may consider, moving either Miller or Morejon. Yeah. So he is also positioning it the way we were positioning it, which is as a buyer. Because he was saying, well, they might move one of these players to address needs.
I think that's been the Morejon conversation. Adrian Morejon, if he goes, it's not because he did anything wrong. It's clearly doesn't seem like it's because the Padres are in a full sale mode. If they're in a full sale mode, sell.
Right.
Michael King should be on that list. Ty France should be on that list. Morejon should be on that list.
Maybe Miller.
I'd probably stop on the Morejon story. I don't know if I'd be doing it with Miller, but here's the one issue that I got with what Passan is saying.
Okay.
I mean, typically when you don't want to sell something, you just basically price it at a price where you're like, I'm not interested. However, if you want it that bad, This is what it's going to take. And then Passon's coming in and basically saying, well, he's overpricing Mason Miller. People aren't going to come in and they're not going to invest that much. Well, isn't he kind of telling you something? I think what Passon should be saying, rather than, oh, this is absurd what the Padres are looking for, what he should be saying is AJ Preller clearly doesn't want to trade away Mason Miller because he did make that big blockbuster deal a year ago, because he does have him under control, because he is the best closer in baseball. There's other reasons why the Padres would want to keep him. All right, if you want him, make an offer that you want him so bad and you're so desperate to bring him into your organization, make an offer that I can't say no. And I think that's the only issue that I have with Jeff Passan there. The way he's assessing it is like, what is Preller thinking? Well, what Preller is thinking is, I don't want to give away Mason Miller. So if you want Mason Miller, you're going to have to offer me something that tells me this, I don't want to sell my home. I'm good with the neighborhood. I'm good with this. My kids are in school in the area, all that stuff. If you give me a stupid number, then maybe I'll consider selling my home.
I agree. He also, by the way, said today, this is at MLB Trade Rumors this afternoon, Passan saying on a podcast earlier today, the Padres are asking for multiple top 10 prospects for Adrian Morejon, not for Mason Miller, for Adrian Morejon. Now, Passan said something I agree with. Whether either move, they would be the best available reliever. So even if Miller doesn't move, that would then move Morejon to the top of the list among best available relievers. The asking price for a rental reliever in Adrian Morejon is 2 top 10 prospects within an organization. Can he get it? Potentially. I mean, it's like, do you want to live in La Jolla? You might have to overpay for your home. I mean, how much do you really want to live in La Jolla? The price is $3 million, but now all of a sudden it's driven up by multiple bids to 3.6. You really want to live in La Jolla? It's going to cost you $3.6 million. You want Adrian Morejon in the back end? You have to pony up potentially. And
it also could be, I mean, 2 other things that can come out of it. Number one, this could also just be AJ Preller. Like, I don't want to give up these guys. If I'm going to go buy right now,
right,
the idea is my bullpen with Adrian Morejon makes my bullpen that much more effective. Mason Miller, let's just take him off the board.
Right.
The other thing that I just mentioned as well, I think if you really look at where the Padres are sitting, and I don't know how AJ Preller is going to do this. I don't know how they're able to improve the team without giving up a quality star or a quality player that's already, can help another team and use some of these bullpen guys as examples, especially without taking on more money. So we'll see how they're able to do it.
Stay tuned. We do have updates and significant ones on both Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove. Real updates to share related to their timeline as that comes into focus. We'll share that with you on the other side. David J. from MadFriars on the state of the Padres system heading into the deadline. Hold Jonas coming up at 4 p.m. This is Schaeffer and Sliwa on San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres take on the Giants for Game 2 of the 4-game series tonight after losing last night 4-1. Wisenhunt set to make the start for the Giants, while the Padres will give the start to the young Rodriguez, making his 4th career start. Tony Romo placed on leave today from CBS after his OWI arrest last Thursday. In the PGA, round 2 of the Rocket Classic has concluded. Cameron Young and Patrick Cantlay leading the pack. NBA news. Victor Wembanyama lands a signature shoe line in Nike deal. And tomorrow night in MLS, SDFC takes on Minnesota United with pregame coverage starting at 5 p.m. here on San Diego Sports 760. Run a business and not thinking about it. Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago, and only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, and even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
That's more like it. You hear that? What did you do? You go in there and yell at Jack?
Well, he started yelling at me.
Is that how it went down?
I didn't even know what happened. He's like, I freaking saw it. And I was like,
guys, relax.
I'm just walking in for a quick second.
It got super heated over here.
Super heated.
It got ugly, bro.
Man.
Yeah.
He
swung, but you know my reflexes.
Yeah.
Not good.
I don't know if I can be here anymore.
Here's what we're going to do this hour. We have tickets to see Santana. We'll give them away this hour. We'll let you know when to call. So we'll let you know when to call to win Santana tickets. Do you know Jack's background, Alan? How much do you know about Jack Powers? Our board op producer.
I know he does some spotting for you.
That's what he's known for.
Originally from Seattle?
Spokane.
Okay.
Close.
Okay.
Moved to Sacramento. So I've been a little.
Grew up a Wazoo fan, right?
Yes, sir.
San Diego State University.
Went to SDSU.
Yeah.
But
that's
what you know?
Yeah.
But he's a play-by-play guy by trade.
That's right.
So, right, like Jack wants to be, you want to do play-by-play, right?
Hopefully big time one day.
He wants to do big-time play-by-play.
Point Loma?
I did do Point Loma.
Okay, I think I remember that.
You know the deal.
We know a little bit.
All right.
There we go.
So anyway, that's Jack.
There you go.
Who's helping out here today. And he's also working on SDFC broadcasts here.
Oh, yeah.
On San Diego Sports 760. All right, we have updates,
big
Alan.
Game tomorrow, brother.
Huge.
Every game right now for them is big for them.
Updates on both Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove at least sound, Alan, encouraging. Kevin Acee writing that both could be back in the major leagues by the 3rd week of August, which is, 3 weeks away. Do you take that literally?
Look, literally, I'll tell you, and I'm not a good person to ask about this, because if you give me just a little bit of positive news on both of those players, I'm skipping out of here whistling. Right. I'm saying to myself, like, hey, this is the difference of everything. Great. I'm not the guy to ask. And I've been doing that anytime I've got any information. I remember you and I were doing the show. Pivetta got injured on a Sunday, I think his 4th start against the Rockies. He got injured on a Sunday, left the game. And on Monday, since then, like, you and I were so cautious. Like, but then we listened to Craig Stammen, and Stammen's like, hey, could be back for his next start. Here we are this far, after, and still Nick Pivetta hasn't come back. This is real progress. And I'll read you guys, a little bit of what Kevin Acee put together, and we could talk to him a little bit later about this. But he said, Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta both threw the equivalent of 2 innings against hitters on Wednesday in Arizona, then returned to San Diego, where they're scheduled to throw a bullpen over the weekend. The next step is likely a rehab start on Tuesday. If this is what happens, one or both could be on the mound in a game for the Padres sometime around August 19th to 22nd. I'm not sure if, and I think there is I think these are connected, but maybe the San Diego Padres and AJ Preller, they're not going anywhere. Maybe they want to win right now. Maybe they feel like, hey, we want to be buyers at the trade deadline. Maybe all of this is because in the background, you could have 2 starters that are coming back. Nick Pivetta, who started your season off against Skubal and the Detroit Tigers. And then obviously we know what Joe Musgrove is. Unfortunately, he hasn't pitched since October 24, or it's since October in 2024. A lot of what we're talking about today and what AJ does over these next couple of days, a lot of it could be riding on these 2 guys.
I do wonder, though, when when they're saying like, hey, they're going to be back in mid-August and they're progressing. I mean, it's basically you ramp up now or you never return this year because you're not ramping someone up in September.
I agree.
Why?
With that. Sure,
because the time has run out essentially, and you have to almost have this like perfect window of time. Here's the other thing to consider.
So this could be like their last chance. Last hurrah. Yeah.
Last dance.
Sure.
A little bit. Here's the other thing to consider. Nick Pavetta's contract
on that one.
Nick Pavetta's contract can be voided if he misses 130 consecutive days.
That's right.
Guess what? The 130th day coincides with August 19th to August 22nd. Like I forget the exact date, but he's got to return
in that window
by August 22nd. So if he gets back on the mound in the major leagues August 21st or is activated, his deal is still intact. If he doesn't, Padres could walk away from it, which is significant for multiple reasons. A, what does it mean for Nick Pivetta? B, what does it mean for the Padres rotation? I mean, there's so many factors in there. But I am thinking about that. He's got a clause that says his contract can be voided if he misses 130 consecutive days. Oh, that just happens to coincide with when he's expected to return.
So let's take those two pieces. Number one, I think that date for Nick Pivetta, you can walk away from his contract. I'm sorry. I'd rather not walk away from his contract than have Nick Pivetta because you don't have any freaking starters.
Sure, but what if he doesn't pitch this year and you don't know about his health? And I don't know what his health is.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, think about that. I mean, here we are talking about getting to a trade deadline. The worst thing that the Padres don't have the most right now is starting pitching. The last thing I care about is walking away from Nick Pivetta. I understand what the circumstances
if he's healthy, you're right.
So do you think this information, based off of you either ramp up now, you figure it out, or the season's done anyways, and this date that looms for Nick Pivetta, do you think this information has more to do with that, or do you think it's real progress?
I think it's real progress. I do think it's real progress. Am I concerned about Nick Pivetta?
You have to be. Of course you have to be.
That is so much time. To your point, he made 4 starts, and he will miss, even if he returns then, essentially 130 days. Why? We don't have an explanation as to why.
Yeah.
Why would it have taken him 130 days without pitching in the major leagues without surgery? So what is it that occurred, and what has he done rehab-wise?
He had a lot of stuff on his calendar. He's been busy all summer.
You know, some of these things, though, it's like you get back and you're not 100%, or they know there's some type of partial something going on, but you just get back on the mound and you just ride it out until something else happens.
Wasn't that part of Musgrove?
Joe Musgrove.
Musgrove, it was like, I know this can go out at any time. And it went out at, you could argue the worst time possible.
2024 postseason when they had everything to play for and were well positioned. So there's a little bit of that potentially as well.
I think what you said about if not now, then when?
Right.
So I'm sure that is part of the calculation here of saying like, look, we're going to find out if they can go or there's no point of waiting any longer, nor can you wait any longer. But I think when you put it that way, that takes away from some of the optimism. It does. It takes
trying
away.
To be
no,
a
no, but no. I think those are important points to make because those are real. That's real data. Like that data is important. That comes into play here. All you can do is hope that this goes the way that they need it to go. But I think what it does, it just shows you how many things have to go right for the Padres right now. Like there's a reality. If you take a step back and you just said, what has this team been essentially this year? They've been a 500 team. Their starting rotation, if you're really putting a lot on Griffin Canning and JP Sears and Walker Buehler and, go down the list, Marquez, go down the list of all these guys. That's pretty ludicrous to trying to put a lot on those guys. Then you got 2 pitchers that basically haven't pitched all year. One of them hasn't pitched since October 2024, and you're putting eggs in that basket as well. And then you're asking AJ Preller to go out in the trade deadline and go basically make some magic happen. Like, there's a lot of stuff
that are
in the way of the San Diego Padres. And that doesn't mean you can't overcome a few of these, and all you need to do is overcome a few of these, but that's a lot of stuff.
We're asking a lot. I completely agree. I mean, they're in a situation now, dude. They don't even use starters. Like Bradley Rodriguez, they announced as their spot starter here today. This has happened consistently over the last 2 weeks. Even yesterday, look at the way they used their staff. Randy Vasquez comes on in relief. It may have been beneficial. He went 4 2/3 innings yesterday.
Saved a lot of the rest of their staff for the rest of the weekend.
I need to see here is my kind of like final point on the final show we have before the deadline, and we'll talk about it for the next 2 hours. But here's where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Preller in the organization, I want all the data possible. I need to see the results of the next 3 games because it does matter to me, and I'll explain why. If the best case is you're 4 over 500, that's winning the next 3 days. The worst case is you're 2 under 500. That matters to me. Am I 4 over or am I 2 under? It's got to matter because on the other side, there's only 50 games. So the difference between 2 under and 4 over, and they could be somewhere in the middle.
They will
2
be
and 1 or 1 and 2.
They'll go 2 and 1 in their next 3.
So they'll be 2 over. But I want to see it through because if they lose tonight, there's a chance they lose it just all is impactful. I'm not overreacting, for example, last night. I just want to see all the data come in and then make my decision in real time based on that.
If you go 2 and 1, then you had gone 7 and 2.
True.
Over that 9-game stretch.
Which is pretty good.
No, it's you couldn't have asked for anything more. But that's why I kind of always have this. I have this issue, and maybe this is more of a baseball thing, and I have a difficult time kind of applying it. But it's really, really tough for me to stomach and to swallow that you would still buy or sell based on these next 3 games.
I would. I don't know if they are. Because if they win the next 3 games, I have to buy. If they lose the next 3 games, I'm probably going to change my opinion on have to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to see it through.
It seems like that to me is
after 110 games.
Yeah, like you see squads every month. There's teams that win 5 in a row, lose 5 in a row.
Of course.
And I have a difficult time saying that that's the decision. Even when the Padres won 5 in a row, that was kind of tough to swallow. I'm like, who'd they beat? They beat Miami. They beat Colorado. Can we relax here for a second? I mean, yesterday, was one of kind of the first games that they've had here in a second where they played a playoff caliber pitcher in Robbie Ray.
He was really good.
Gave up 1 run.
Can they get him?
Right? Like, but that's my point. Yeah. Like, my point is that what does it help you when you're taking on a struggling Marlins or you're taking on the Rockies, one of the worst teams in all baseball?
What's it telling us?
Yeah, like what's it telling you? And then you go up against Robbie Ray yesterday, which is the type of caliber pitcher that you would face in a playoff series, and you score 1 run. So now you flip it. Now you kind of start selling it. Like I hate that that's kind of the thought process.
I understand. And I understand. I completely understand. And I think they have a plan in place, but could the plan change based on what they do for 3 days and what teams do around them? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll start executing this plan before Monday or before Sunday's game.
Sure.
Even.
Where they're already saying they're already buyers.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have the latest on the Padres at the deadline. Also, David J. from MadFriars on the state of the Padres system. Is it, in fact, still the weakest in the sport or not? He covers it on a day-by-day basis. He'll join us coming up at 4 p.m. Kevin Acee is our Padres Insider. He is on the show today, coming up at 5 p.m. And on the other side, Alan, we're giving away a 4-pack of tickets to see Santana. That's next. Schaeffer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, we have Santana. Do you have a read?
I do have a read. Go ahead, do the Santana.
No.
Things have changed a lot. Our iHeartRadio Music Festival is back. Live performances by the Goo Goo Dolls, Kenny Chesney, Lainey Wilson, Snoop Dogg, Weezer, and more. September 18th and 19th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. 2 nights, 1 stage. Now's your chance to buy tickets at AXS.com. Get them now before they sell out.
All right, David J. from MadFriars will join us at 4 p.m. We're giving away Santana tickets in the next 8 minutes. It's a 4-pack of tickets to see Santana. We'll tell you how to win those tickets coming up within the next 8 minutes or so. You and I are still processing this baseball news that Cash Mayfield, one of the top pitching prospects in the Padres organization, the former top pick of the Padres, has been scratched from his start tonight. We don't know the reason as to why. Is it health related? Is it deadline related? Is it just moving him back a day? Can't believe you missed another shot.
Go look at the evidence. I'll turn that camera over right now.
So he's been scratched.
That one it's hard not to speculate. You know,
put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Again, it could be nothing, but for those who just tuning in now, that's how we kind of started off the show. What does it mean? Your number 2 overall prospect. We know how AJ Preller does business. We understand that AJ Preller is not shy. We understand that the dude has no problem taking chances. What's the one thing that I said all week? I'm like, hey, this is the only thing I ask AJ Preller to do.
But don't be negligent.
Just don't be reckless.
Okay, reckless.
Don't be reckless. And I don't know what comes back. I mean, we could look at some of the deals that AJ Preller does. I think you're one. I think it's safe to say this, that you're one that loves how aggressive he's been. It's exciting. It's really, listen, let's give AJ Preller this. And Peter Seidler, of course, because both of them worked hand in hand together. The reason why Petco Park has the energy that it has, they sell as many tickets they do, jersey sales, popularity, made playoffs 4 out of the last 6 years. Because AJ Preller, they make moves. I don't know if they can still operate like this. I don't know how sustainable it is, but let's wait to see what happens. But it's because of all these reasons, when you have your number 2 prospect scratched from tonight's game, it's impossible not to pause and say, hey, I wonder if something's happening there.
And let me be clear. I am not advocating in 2026 for the Padres to aggressively sell off their farm to add some sexy or intriguing piece. Mm-hmm. I am not in favor of moving everything for 2 months of Tarek Skubal, for example. Like that I am not in favor of that. I do not think the end result of doing that results in, the only thing that would be acceptable there is you're winning a World Series or getting to one at the very least. And your odds would still be stacked, obviously, against you if you made a trade like that. So I don't think it's 2024. Now, 24 is tough because they didn't have a great record even at the deadline. But I don't think it's some of these years where they've gone so all in. 2020, they traded over.
Last season was as aggressive as you can get.
2020, they traded for Mike Clevenger. They replaced 9 players on their major league roster. Over 1/3 of their team was traded at the deadline. That was a 60-game season. I'm not advocating for that. What I am advocating for is you're 2 games out of a playoff spot. Just dip your toe in. Can you improve your team without selling off your entire farm? And I think you could probably do it.
What would you do if he traded for school? And just gave up whatever else they have, Ethan Salas, and
I would do is have a lot of clicks on the wrap-up show. Is what I would do. I mean, what would I say? I would say it's probably too aggressive, and I think a lot of people would agree. Mm-hmm. We'd all watch it. We'd all watch
it play out, and we'd all see if were you able to cash anything in the postseason,
right?
Or are you out in the wild card round?
Exactly. Do you think it's going to happen? I don't feel. No,
I don't even think they're in the discussion. Like I haven't seen one report up until a month ago.
Yep.
And then they started on this slide. Look, when Skubal was part of the conversation was much earlier in the season, when the division was kind of still not up for grabs, but they were in the mix here. They were 8, 9, 10 games above 500.
Yeah, they were.
Mm-hmm. Not 1 or 2 games over 500, or at one point down, 3 games below 500. So no, I don't think that's a conversation.
I mean, they still are. We do have to recognize that from 19-9, or they were better than that at one point when they were 11 over, and I forget the exact record. I always just use 19-9. From 19-9 to today, they've played very subpar baseball.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what the exact record is, but they're playing like
9 games below 500.
Yeah, they're playing like 440, 450 for 80 games, 90 games.
Well, what was everybody saying to us when they were 19-9?
That's not sustainable. They're over their skis.
You don't have to say it angrily because they were right.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, like that's the one thing that I will say.
Yep.
Over that time, and listen, it's tough sometimes. You're trying to be objective, but that's your team, and you're watching them win, and they're coming back in the 8th or the 9th inning. And good teams find ways to win. You sell yourself on anything. But the reality was those that were like, that's not sustainable. They were right.
Yeah, what has stuck with me is Dan Szymborski, who we've had on a number of times, even since starting Schaeffer and Sliwa from Fangraphs.
Yeah.
He said at 19-9, he's like, the reason they're projected to win 80 games still, or 81 games, is they have no starting pitching depth. And it's been proven in modern baseball history, you can't go at it in this manner. You got like 5. That's like having 2.5.
I know.
You need essentially 9 to navigate it. And they didn't. They didn't even have 5, Alan, truthfully. They were hopeful. Yeah, Lucas Giolito was added along the way.
After the season
Brisbane Cannon came back from injury along the way. So it was a lot of flyers. Walker Buehler was a flyer that worked for a couple of months. Hasn't worked as well in recent starts. So I don't know if Dan Szymborski was fully right. I think he was right. So now my question is, can they add starting pitching, or what's the cost? Is it too high of a price tag to do?
Just to confirm something that Acee had mentioned, Craig Stammen says, Marty Caswell put this tweet out. Craig Stammen says, Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta are expected to throw a bullpen tomorrow. So,
okay. So again, working their way towards a rehab start, which means working their way back towards the major leagues. All right. David J. from MadFriars is going to join us on the other side. His thoughts on Ethan Salas. Could he possibly move? What does the rest of the organization look like right now? What type of assets do the Padres truly have if they're looking to add this year at the trade deadline? But we did promise you a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to see Santana. So caller 4, you are going to see Santana on August 11th. That's coming up in less than 2 weeks. If you want to see Santana absolutely free, you need to call right now and be caller 4. The number to call is 877-767-4760, but call right now, 877-767-4760 for a free 4-pack of tickets to see Santana and the Doobie Brothers August 11th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com. Again, 877-767-4760. David J. from MadFriars next on San Diego Sports 760.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network, presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres take on the Giants for Game 2 of the 4-game series tonight after losing last night 4-1. Whisenhunt set to make the start for the Giants, while the Padres will give the start to the 22-year-old Rodriguez. He's making his 4th start of his career. Tony Romo today placed on leave from CBS after his OWI arrest from last Thursday. In NBA news, Victor Wembanyama lands signature shoe line deal with Nike, extending his current contract he had with them. And tomorrow night in MLS, SDFC takes on Minnesota United with pregame coverage starting at 5 p.m. here on San Diego Sports 760. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by... Previously on Schaeffer and Sliwa.
Preller, when he's made these moves, look at Mason Miller, look at Juan Soto. They've all had control. He took huge swings for pieces that were controllable. But you know where the Brewers and Padres are similar? Neither has won a World Series.
But the Padres were never in this spot like Milwaukee. Going into the trade deadline where you feel like there's 2-3 teams coming out of the NL, it's like the Padres have used the trade deadline to really increase their chances of making noise.
Now live from the studios of San Diego Sports 760.
It's Schaeffer and Sliwa.
Right, hour 2, trade deadline approaching. We are 71 hours out. In fact, Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. A great voice on all things related to the Padres farm system is David J., and he's been with us a number of times over the years on San Diego Sports 760. First time with Schaeffer and Sliwa, and of course you can find his work as well at MadFriars, a terrific resource for Padres fans. So David, hope you're doing well, and let's just start with where the Padres are right now. 3 days to go. We've been through this song and dance before. Let's start with Ethan Salas. He has had such a breakthrough year. In your opinion, how misguided would it be, if at all, if they were to move him at this year's deadline?
Hey, John, it's good to talk with you, Alan. Nice to be on with you for the first time. In my mind, it would be completely and totally misguided to even consider moving Ethan Salas in a completely and misguided effort to pretend this team could possibly be a World Series champion in 2026.
All right. That's a good emphatic way to look at it right now when it comes to Salas.
With that being said, I mean, I think you could kind of paint the picture better here, but let's rewind a year ago.
Sure.
Would we have said the same thing? And then, obviously Padres go out, make a trade for Mason Miller. Their number one prospect is gone in DeVry. I'm just kind of trying to, and again, I think most people don't think we're going to get that extreme of a trade again, but because that happened last year, because AJ Preller has been so aggressive in the past, can we really be shocked if something like that happened again?
I said it was misguided, not that it was unlikely. Right. I think, to compare it to last year, when they traded who was clearly their second best prospect at the time, even with Salas on the shelf for most of last season. This organization is further from having any reasonable chance of even advancing to the World Series, much less winning it this year, and has significantly less prospect capital than it did 367 days ago. And so for me, when you look at Salas, who is clearly, his floor is an everyday, is the primary starting catcher for a team at the big league level for the next 15 years. His defensive ability is so strong that, minus career-ending injury, which is the caveat for any prospect or any player already in the big leagues, his floor is he's going to be a starter in this league until the 2040s. So and they don't have another obvious everyday player in the organization anywhere today. And so if you're going to consider trading him, you leave yourself in the position of you do not have a single player who you can reasonably expect to bring to the big leagues in the next 3 years and be a starter at that level. And I just don't think they can afford to do that no matter what the return is.
Yeah, that's incredibly insightful from David J. at MadFriars. I want to look at the opposite side of the coin, like moving Ethan Salas would be one type of aggressive move. Trading Mason Miller would be also very, I don't know, controversial potentially for some. He's got 3 years of control. As you look at farm systems around baseball, there's been all this discussion about the New York Yankees and how they would pair in potentially trying to acquire someone like Mason Miller or even Adrian Morejon. If the Padres do, in fact, sell either of those two players, are the Yankees a potential landing spot when it comes to their system and what they have in it?
Yeah, and I think both of them are what the Padres need is starting pitching. And since I don't think there's a second GM in the game who's prepared to give up 2 big league starters for Freddie Fermin, the best way to get starting pitching at the big league level is probably to make a move out of the bullpen. And certainly the Yankees have a lot of depth of guys who are already either just at the big league level or ready to be at the big league level in the next year. So they're certainly a team that makes sense. The Mariners are a team that makes sense for much the same reason. They're probably less in a buy mode than the Yankees are, but I think, there are a lot of teams out there that could use either of those guys. And I think, one of the realities facing every team coming into this deadline, and you say he's got 3 years of control, but how much of 2027 is going to be played? Sure. And does the next CBA reduce it to 5 years of control instead of 6 for players, in which case now you're talking about a guy who you've got control over for 1 to 1.5 seasons. And, is the appetite for that risk higher with AJ Preller than it is with other organizations? And I don't know that anybody outside the offices at 19 Tony Gwynway really knows that, but it is a factor that's going to be part of any trade talks with any organization this year, is what sort of likelihood they place on playing next year, being competitive next year, and whether they think 2029 will be in play for a player they acquire who currently has 3 years of control.
David J is part of MadFriars, joining us here on the Schaeffer and Sliwa show. David, I know I'm kind of going backwards here, but I'm curious, as a year later after that trade, Leo DeVries and the Mason Miller trade, how do people view that trade today? The fact that we were listening to Jeff Passan a little bit earlier, was on the Pat McAfee show, and he kind of mentioned that, obviously that trade, a lot of people were surprised by it. You're trading for a closer. Just how do people look at it today? The prospect versus this proven commodity. Like you mentioned, there's going to be questions on how much control that you still have with Mason Miller. How is it viewed around baseball?
Well, I don't know if I can speak to much beyond the purview I have, which is primarily focused on minor league systems and the Padres in particular. But I think people were genuinely surprised last year to see it happen. And, as absolutely mind-blowing as it is to watch Mason Miller pitch, and what he's doing is really, there is not a parallel in the history of the game. And I think, again, assuming he stays healthy, whether it's 1.5 or 2 or 3 years of control you have left of him in a Padres uniform, it's really hard not to enjoy that. And Leo DeVries is going to be a starting shortstop in the league by, at the latest, the middle of next year. And, starting shortstops with 6 years or 5 years of control are also a lot of fun to have. And, it's going to become more and more of an issue as, you're watching what he's doing in 2029 when Xander Bogaerts has 4 years left on his contract with the Padres. I think, I think generally across the league, front offices tend not to value closers as much as the general public does, and probably across the league, managers and people in the dugout tend to value closers more than front offices do. And so I think, it's a trade that's understandable, but is this team, as it's currently construed, and not just because of that trade and not just because of other trades, but because they have, in trading Leo DeVries, they didn't just trade DeVries. They traded the entirety of their 2024 international free agency class, right? Like, they made a decision in January 2024 to put all of their marbles in the Leo DeVries basket. And so once they traded him, the only other players left in the organization from that entire international free agency class are guys who signed for $10,000 or less. And so, you talk about how does a system get hollowed out? Well, they did that for Salas, and it makes sense. They did it for DeVries, it makes sense. But you're talking about 2 years of international free agency that at best now are going to give you one player. And Salas is really that guy. And in my mind, he is going to be a multi-time All-Star. But it's also really tough to build a system that way. It's an organization that, chose to sign a couple of guys to big league free agent contracts that cost them draft picks and pool space. And so it means that last year they had a really thin draft class because that's all they could afford to do. And it's the second time in 3 years that they made that choice. And so you wind up with sort of these compounding factors that leave the system really thin, and that makes it hard to map a path forward to this organization with the guys it has under long-term contract there actually having a path towards a World Series championship.
All right, so that will lead me here. Two-part question for David J. at MadFriars. Did you see the news that Cash Mayfield apparently was scratched tonight? That's A. Have you seen that before I continue the question?
I hadn't, but they've also moved him back and forth between Friday and Saturday since he was at the Futures game.
That's what I was going to ask you. If you knew a reason as to why, not that it had anything to necessarily do with the deadline, but if there was a reason as to why. Beyond that, how has he pitched this year? How has the other pitching prospect in the organization, Cruz Schoolcraft, pitched so far this year?
So, I think you've seen encouraging results from Mayfield, who has also been asked to work deeper into games, right? He last year, his first, he was the first round pick in 2024. So last year was his first year out in the organization, and he had impressive strikeout rates and good overall numbers, but was used in a really protected sort of way. And I think he threw 5 innings once last year. So this year you've seen him step forward with a higher workload and continuing to get good strikeout numbers. I think, the thing you haven't seen is a sign that his breaking ball is going to be playable. And so what he's done an incredible job of is his changeup is absolutely a stellar pitch, and particularly at the high A level, there just aren't right-handed hitters who are competent to try and do any damage against it. So he's put up really good numbers, but those numbers have come largely facing right-hand heavy lineups, which makes sense based on, lefty-righty matchup, but not on his arsenal. And I think what we haven't seen from him is an indication that the breaking ball is coming more consistently. He got off to a stellar start this year. His ERA's gone up every month this year. His workload got managed a little bit in June. Going into the Futures game, he pitched an inning in the Futures game, and it was coming out better. But then this month I don't think he's gone more than 4 innings in any of his appearances. They gave him a week off coming out of the Futures game, so he's only had a couple of starts. I think Schoolcraft, who's up in Lake Elsinore this year, it's hard to describe it as anything other than a disappointing first season. And he was last year's first round pick, huge lefty, but not a lot of explosiveness in his or athleticism. And so what you see is a big fastball at times, but he's got to work for it. And again, he doesn't have the profile that says he's going to be able to develop a breaking ball that will play against more advanced hitters. He's a fastball changeup or his first two primary pitches. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when we look at this year's draft class and the ginormous right-handed pitcher out of high school that they took, Coleman Borthwick, he's a guy whose primary secondary offering is a slider that is already seen as one of the better sliders in his draft class, and just gives a really different profile for a development path for a guy coming out of high school, which, again, we won't really see anything from him. He may get one inning at the end of the Cal League year like Schoolcraft did last year, but it's going to be next year before we see anything substantive from him, which is totally appropriate. But it does leave them in a case, we came into the year and it was Mayfield, Schoolcraft, and Mendez were kind of the three arms at the top of the system. Mendez has dealt with some injury stuff. His control has continued to be a question, and I still think his future is as a bullpen arm. But I think the three of them are indicative of really the entire system. There's nobody aside from Salas who I think has increased the perception of their value in the game from April 1st this year. And I think there are a handful of guys, including both those lefties and a Jagger Haynes, who's closest to the big leagues and just got a promotion to AAA. Those guys have all taken at least one step back.
David,
which I realize isn't like a really festive, happy set of news to share.
No, but it's the true. It's the reality.
There's a reason why I guess the system is ranked where it is, which is not overly high, obviously, across the sport. David, I wish we had more time for you. It's really good insight. We'll call you Monday when they trade Salas. All right.
I'll look forward to it, guys.
Thank you, David J. from MadFriars. Let's react to some of that on the other side. We'll get to the wrap at 4:30. Kevin Acee is our Padres Insider. He's with us at 5 p.m. with more in the deadline coming up here on Schaeffer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, SDFC is back on the road tomorrow when they take on the Minnesota United. Our pre-match coverage with Adrian and Darren will begin at 5 p.m. on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. Got some work to do. Boys got some work to do. Good win against Dallas last Saturday. Still 12th in the standings in the Western Conference for obviously in the MLS. So they got some work to do.
Still time as well for SDFC in the second half now of 2026. All right, the Rapid 4:30, Kevin Acee at 5. To summarize David J's tenor on the organization, he's not overly high on where they are. Now, he's very high on Ethan Salas, incredibly high on Salas, which is encouraging. Multiple-time All-Star. Yep. Someone's a 15-year starter in the Major League. So incredibly high on Salas. The rest of the system, he's not as optimistic on, and maybe this speaks to the issue at hand, the way they've been ranked by many that cover minor league baseball. They're among the worst systems overall in terms of depth here in 2026.
Saw something on Bleacher Report when he was talking, because I seen the Padres at 30th in some of these farm system rankings. Bleacher Report has them as 27th.
Oh,
this was mid-July, so a couple of weeks ago. Is it safe to say this? Is it safe? There was actually I got to find this comment here. There was a really good YouTube comment that I think put things in perspective.
Okay.
MRB on YouTube says the Padres are average. It is a seller's market. Sell. Do you truly think we have a deep run in the playoffs, or is it just to say we made it? And he says at the end there, I want more.
Yeah, I kind of like that take. They are average. They're 55 and 54. I would agree with him. But in the perspective of the National League, I guess what we're saying is an average team is probably going to make the postseason, maybe 2.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, this is we've weighed this for a month, dude. What are the benefits? What are the risks?
Let me simplify it for you. Let's take out objective. You do a radio show and you cover the San Diego Padres all the time. What's the right long-term thing to do if you're the San Diego Padres?
Long-term, it's easy. I don't even have to say it.
Okay, what's a long-term thing? What's the right?
I'm not even going to say it.
No, it's okay. Say it.
And the long-term is, of course, to sell. Long-term.
Then why are we making a case to buy?
The same reason why people buy day trade and don't always put money in 401ks. Same reason. Because day traders are looking at more the here and now, even if there's more security and what's going to play out over the next 20 years.
I think, listen, you and I have, I've been sold on trying to just make the postseason. So I've lowered my bar of what the goal is for the San Diego Padres. My goal is just make the postseason. I was saying the same thing last year. It's what they did. In 3 games and a wild card, they were out.
Yep.
And they've given up a lot of really, really good prospects to accomplish that. And I think with this YouTube comment, I think the reason why I like it here, do you really truly think we have a deep run in the playoffs? My answer is no. I don't think there's a deep run in the playoffs based off of what I've seen. And, obviously, can that change by going out there and doing something? They got one of the worst farm systems in all of baseball. And they are one of the franchises that everybody's concerned about the future because of the commitments they already have towards a lot of players that are not only aging, but only getting worse. Shouldn't you be one or the other? Like, you shouldn't be both. They shouldn't be trying to win now, have all these awful payrolls, and have the worst farm system in all of baseball. Like, there's a point where it's going to come, and I'm really curious how new ownership comes into play here. But the AJ Preller tenure, there's got to be something here that's got to give, because if you're not good enough to truly compete and you have one of the worst farm systems, what are you chasing? Like, they're chasing their own tail.
Let me ask you this. And I agree by and large with what you're saying. But what is the best farm system in baseball by you? Hot talent lava. Number 1 system. I was told the number 1 system results in World Series titles. It had worked for the Chicago Cubs. It had worked for the Atlanta Braves in recent history. Teams with the number 1 ranked system win World Series. The Padres for back-to-back years had the number 1 system in the sport. Fast forward, you just watched it play out the last 6 years. Number 1 system in the sport. You've watched it play out. There's no guarantees either way. They could go restock this farm. They still have the agent contracts. They haven't got out.
But you get what I'm saying, that you can't be both. You can't be like, if you're running your organization the right way, you can't be both. You can't have awful contracts that are going to be terrible for you for the next handful of years.
And
you can't be giving out these players in the farm system like they're nothing. Like they're truly, in my opinion, this is one of the worst positions to be in of all these teams in Major League Baseball.
Because you're in the middle.
Yeah, but you're also not excelling at either.
Yeah.
So at least I could say, I'm not telling you that the Padres, they're better off of just having the number one or one of the top 5 farm systems, but you're neither. I'm not competing truly, genuinely for a World Series, and I'm not rebuilding. So what am I doing then?
You're trying to squeeze everything out of a closing window and appease
that could
3
already
million
be closed.
fans.
But that's
But
that's
it could
the thing.
be.
You can't be stuck on that. The fans will follow if you have the proper plan.
But the other thing on the window, we don't know. We can't see the future. You're right. It could already be closed. We may look. This team might go 79 and 83.
Only reason why I'm saying this is because I think there's a reality that we're all kind of trying to sort of avoid. I know what the Padres are this year.
Average.
They're not that good of a team.
Yeah.
And if I keep hearing this, well, these next 3 games are going to determine what they should do. It sounds like we had no plan. Like, it doesn't sound like there's a plan.
Well, the problem with the plan is you could fire AJ Preller tomorrow. That doesn't change the bad contracts. So like it's all baked in. They're in debt, so to speak. You can't get out from underneath Xander Bogaerts or Fernando Tatis Jr. or Manny Machado or Joe Musgrove. You Darvish, they're still paying.
You can't get out of it, but you can attach where those contracts came from. And it ain't just Preller. It's obviously Seidler as well. They were kind of collectively, this is our window. Let's make it happen.
Sure, but even if you hired me tomorrow or the brightest mind in baseball history, they exist. I mean, you're dealing with those parameters. The Wrap on the other side, Kevin Acee at 5 p.m. Schaeffer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Hey guys, it is Schaeffer again for my friends at the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. You got to check out their brand new hotel and spa at Jamul. You're going to love it. You can experience elevated luxury with a refined hotel stay. They've got rooftop relaxation, indulgent spa treatments, all the excitement of Jamul Casino Resort seamlessly brought together in one unforgettable destination. And now, take your stay to the next level. They have exclusive hotel packages crafted for the ultimate escape. And this summer, get to Starlight Pool. Next level chill. Soak up the sun, soak in the views. It's San Diego's ultimate rooftop pool. They have day passes starting at just $40. Grab your friends, relax, and make it a pool day to remember. And while you're at Jamul, you'll love their dining options, including Jamul 23 with their lobster buffet every day. You can enjoy all-you-can-eat lobster every day, plus dozens of other delicious stations. Start your morning with their new signature breakfast buffet. That's Monday through Friday, 8 to 10:30. With made-to-order omelets, fresh fruit, and sweet and savory favorites at the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres take on the Giants for Game 2 of the 4-game series tonight after losing last night 4-1. They trail the Phillies for the last wildcard spot by 2 games. Whisenhunt set to make the start for the Giants tonight, while the Padres will give the start to the young Rodriguez. He'll be making his 4th start in his career. Currently, the Phillies underway against the Orioles in the second inning, tied at 2 runs apiece. The Guardians leading the D-backs 1-0 in the second inning. The Cubs lost earlier today to the Yankees at Wrigley Field 2-0. Tony Romo placed on leave today from CBS after his OWI arrest last Thursday. In NBA news, Victor Wembanyama lands signature shoe line deal with Nike. And tomorrow night in MLS, SDFC takes on Minnesota United with pregame coverage starting at 5 p.m. here on San Diego Sports 760. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
All right, we're going to get to the wrap in one moment. Kevin Acee will join us at 5 p.m., our Padres Insider, Alan. Also, Neil Sika, Apple TV, getting us ready for this weekend. You can hear the match on San Diego Sports 760. Jack just told you about it. SDFC, Minnesota United. Neil Sika, play-by-play announcer, Apple TV, will join us coming up at 5:30. But without further ado, this is with Jack Powers, by the way. This is with Jack Powers back there, not Brent. Jack, let's get to it.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
All right. Hold on. Time out. Let's get it. We're taking 30 seconds out.
Your volume.
Music a little lower. Your volume a little higher.
There we go. How we feel?
A little higher.
Little higher.
Your
Even
volume.
higher.
Your volume. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
How we feeling there?
That's better.
better. Yeah, it's
Do
good.
you like that?
We want to hear more, Jack.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that. Can anything change for the Padres from buying at this point?
So basically, there's no other path but buying. Now, our last guest that we had, David J., part of MadFriars, he really angered me.
Not him, but how you feel about the organization after listening to him.
His content angered me.
Right.
He's phenomenal at explaining the position that the Padres are in. Can anything change them buying? Now, if you're asking from AJ Preller's perspective, I don't think anything changes.
Okay.
No matter what happens, I think Preller's still going to buy. So if that's kind of how the question is based, no, I don't think anything changes between now and by the time you get to Monday that AJ Preller changes his mind based on these final 3 games. Nor do I think the Padres are going to get swept 4 games by the Giants.
Agree.
So, at worst, what are you? They go 1-3 and they're 500.
Yeah, 1-2 from here on out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the way you put it, I agree with. I also don't expect them getting swept at home in a 4-game series. I mean, if it were to happen, though, does it change your thinking organizationally? Wouldn't it almost have to?
And we're saying this from Preller's perspective.
From Preller's perspective, if you're sitting there Sunday afternoon, I'm like, seriously.
Yeah.
And they just got swept for whatever reason. And they're 2 games under 500 and 4 games out of a playoff spot, which I think they probably would be. 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So you sit there scratching your head and saying, I can't in my right mind
I still don't think he
anything
will.
to add.
I think he'll still buy.
You still buy?
Yeah, I think he'll still buy. I think he's so desperate to buy. And you don't know. Maybe there is pressure from new ownership and current ownership. Like, listen, I can't give any indication to that fan base that we're selling. I need those seats sold at Petco Park. You're freaking buying. And maybe it's not even AJ Preller. Now, granted, I still think it's Preller in the sense that that 5-game winning streak that they had, I think that was enough for AJ Preller to say, all right, I'm convinced I'm going to buy.
I will say this. I think they buy in the end, but I think it's going to end up being – it's going to be
Maybe
nothing like 2020 or 2020.
Brother, go 2025.
2024.
You don't have to go further. You go last year. Last year they were very aggressive.
But I'm saying like Juan Soto, Mason Miller, this is not going to rival any of that we've seen in recent years, would be my guess. Next question.
Should FIFA go to 64 teams for the World Cup?
All right, did you see the latest on this? I guess there's a lot of criticism towards the 64 team. There's an article on ESPN. FIFA advances plans for 64 team World Cup review despite private investment backlash.
Right.
Whatever the hell all that means. Okay. Here's why I like it. There's only one reason why I like it. It makes the tournament clean in group play.
Top 2 in each group.
Top 2 in each group, you move on. That's it.
Yep.
Do we genuinely need any more countries? I don't think they do. You had 32.
Right.
You bumped it up to 48.
And 4 years later, you go to 64.
That's as extreme as can possibly be.
Right.
Something happened with FIFA. FIFA already was a corrupt cash cow. They already were. Let's be honest. They were a corrupt cash cow. And I don't know what happened between, this past World Cup. It's like, let's just freaking go all in. Hydration break, 48 countries, split it up between 3 different countries.
$10,000 tickets for the final.
Face
value.
They did it.
Yeah.
This is the next step, is getting to 64. I hate to say what I'm about to say. I had such a good time watching the World Cup. I enjoyed the entire thing. I'm okay with 64 teams, and I do like how clean it would be with the group
It would be
play.
clean. I don't have a big issue with it, other than the fact that I loved the World Cup when it started, the group play and the novelty of it. But then we got into group play, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever.
By the third game,
it felt like they had been playing for months on end.
I thought it was a baseball season.
If they extend out group play because you have 64 teams and you're never airing multiple matches at the same time except for the third game of group play, is it going to take another 7 days?
No, I think it will change.
Okay, if they can do it in the
still
same
keep
window.
it the same window, I think what will change, because remember, they'll get through the 64 and it's straight to the 32.
Yeah.
That's still going to happen. The only difference is going to be, obviously you got a couple extra games going on.
I'm fine with it. I just don't know if I need British Virgin Islands against Argentina.
You don't.
Right.
But we were kind of watching it.
That already.
What I don't need is definitely the third game where many of them don't matter or things have already been determined.
They've already moved on.
They've already moved on, but I'll take it. By the way, you want to see that or no?
I'm down for it. I think it'd be great.
I'd like to see 120.
I wouldn't want to see the third place team in group play advance out. They need to stay out. If they're finished third.
No, but that's the whole purpose of 64 teams. So 64 team means literally top 2 in each group gone.
Next question.
All right, who are you okay with being traded away?
What Padre player am I okay with getting traded away? All right, Mason Miller, we said this. I prefer him, he doesn't go. Morejon, I prefer he doesn't go. Michael King, to be honest with you, I think that if you trade Michael King, you better start trading everybody else away. You don't have any starting pitching. I think, you start getting to some of these bullpen guys. I like Jeremiah Estrada a lot, but if he can get you something of value. Wandy Peralta, you've heard his name be thrown around. Can we go without Ty France, or has Ty France just been that clutch for you?
He's been really good.
I know.
I mean, it depends if you're trying to win.
I'm assuming here you're trying to win and you got to give up some stuff.
If I'm trying to win,
I don't want to get rid of Morejon.
I'm okay with giving up like the softer part of my bullpen, but again, remember you're not getting a great return if you're trading away Wandy Peralta, even Yuki Matsui.
Yep.
There's some young, intriguing arms in there. Bradley Rodriguez, David Morgan, and to your point, Jeremiah Estrada. Obviously, Adams isn't healthy right now. I think selling Morejon is going to have some real, detrimental impact, unfortunately.
So basically, we're okay with not giving anything good away.
If they're not selling, if they're selling, sell it all. But if they're not selling, and the purpose is to add, then I'm not really trying to trade away Mason Miller right now. Next question.
All right, what does it mean if SDFC wins this weekend?
3 points.
I think it means they're starting to gain some real momentum. That's what I think it means. If you got 2 weeks in a row where they've not only been disappointing in the first part of the season, they've had some devastating ways of losing points.
Right.
I mean, I could count 3 or 4 times this year where it felt like they're getting 3 points or they're tying and it goes haywire. You win 2 in a row, impressive win against Dallas. Obviously, Minnesota, who's not, I think they're 8th or 9th, something like that in the Western Conference standings. I think it means they're starting to build some real momentum. So that's what I think it means.
Yeah, I think that I want a result. I want a point or more this weekend. You're on the road. You want to continue to hang around at the very least. They could absolutely use a win. There's about to be another break from MLS play because of
All-Star.
what's coming up. Well, you got All-Star, then they have Leagues Cup. Leagues Cup is coming up as well. So you could really use it just to build some type of momentum heading into the second half of the year. All right, good stuff there on the wrap. Kevin Acee, our Padres Insider, coming up at 5 p.m. We will hear from Craig Stammen as he speaks with the media this afternoon. So we'll try to bring you some sound from Craig Stammen coming up. You're going to hear from Kevin Acee as the trade deadline is approaching. Is it definitive or not that the Padres will be buying in some form or fashion? We'll ask that to Kevin coming up at 5 p.m. We're here until 6. Stay with us on Schaeffer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Schaeffer and Sliwa, Kevin Acee will join us in 13 minutes. Final time for Kevin Allen before the deadline.
Yeah.
He's told us twice this week they're buyers.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say it wouldn't involve selling. He absolutely has not said that, but he said the end result will be buying. Will he double down on that the final time we have him on before the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, what would have changed since Wednesday? You know, I know they lost yesterday.
The Giants. Yeah, one game. I agree. They were going to lose again. It was going to happen.
Timing of it, not the greatest. I mean, you're just on a 4-game setting in San Francisco. We were talking about this yesterday. There was a little bit of like, hey, can we not forget that there's a 4-game set before the trade deadline?
You called that.
Brother, there's been so much attention towards the trade deadline. And their last game, we were joking about it yesterday before the show ended. They played Colorado in a day game on, what was it, Wednesday?
Mm-hmm. It felt like forever.
It felt like we hadn't played in 3 weeks.
I know. It's all the trade deadline talk.
All the conversation, the fact they didn't play in an evening, whatever the case is. And and they were flat yesterday. They weren't good at all.
No.
Giants should have probably won 7 or 8-1.
Yep.
I mean, they're lucky that they only lost 4-1.
Yep.
And they're also lucky that all they really lost was a half game.
Right. Nobody was playing.
Nobody's playing, and all the other squads lost as well, other than Philadelphia and Arizona that didn't play. So get back on track tonight. They're going to need to. Why is it just me? And you said this too during the break. This is a sneaky big game tonight.
Like, gotta get.
Yeah.
Feel decent about where you're standing.
If you thought the way Craig Stammen has been managing this like playoff style over this last week or so, hey, I got a pitcher that's in trouble early on. I don't care what his pitch count is. I'm pulling him. If you think that was the case over the last week, I think it's amplified tonight as well.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. They
got a rookie going for San Francisco.
Right. And we'll see where the Padres ultimately turn throughout the course of the game. They'll use an opener in Bradley Rodriguez. Here's what I was going to say. If you win tonight, that's an if. They got to win the game.
Yeah.
They're favored to do it. They'll likely be a game out. Why? Because you're not chasing one team right now. You're chasing two. So both Arizona and Philadelphia would need to win tonight for you to remain 2 out if you win. But if Arizona loses tonight,
you got to do your job.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you win tonight. But here's the thing. It's like all this, they're average. Should they be buying? It's like I'm looking at Arizona right now. It's already trailing in their game. That's 1-0. It's the third inning. But these teams haven't been great.
Bring in Mason Miller.
Bring in Mason Miller to start. Win tonight. Here's what I'm going to be saying tonight in the wrap-up show. They're a game out, but you got to win tonight.
Yeah.
You got to win tonight. And I'm with you. It feels impactful. Of course, they play 162 times.
No, but it does. It feels impactful because you're coming off the loss yesterday. You still kind of want to gain some of this momentum. It's a Friday night at Petco Park. You're playing a team that does not care about winning right now in San Francisco. They're going to be sellers. Like there's, you won 5 in a row. Do you really want to? You want to go into a 4-game set, losing 2 in a row against the lowly Giants? Like that would be a gut punch, and it becomes an important game. And by the time you and I come back on Monday, there's going to be a lot that has been determined. As stupid as that sounds, over 1 3-game set against the Giants, there is a lot that happens.
Well, here's the truth. And to your point, it's not necessarily because they go 3-0 or 0-3 or somewhere in between. It's because they're making moves that are going to impact their big league roster, and everyone's aware of it. It's a weird time to be in a clubhouse. I spent 15 years in the minor leagues, 10 in AAA. It's weird. People are on edge.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Here's what happens in baseball, unlike other sports. If you get traded from the Padres to the Phillies, you travel cross country and play same day for a new team. I mean, it just happens like that on a whim. Everyone is aware of that possibility. Every single one of them by and large. Manny Machado's not getting traded, but there's a lot of these players that are aware of what is on the line based on what the organization is thinking. So here's the thing with the Giants. A lot of the Giants are going to be traded away, but collectively as a team, they're playing for nothing. They can be loose and free. It doesn't matter if they win or lose tonight. It does matter for the Padres whether they win or lose here tonight. So it's a different.
In a weird way, this 3-game set can determine a player's future for the Padres.
So weird, right?
Right. And we look at it, and this is we kind of in sports, we always look at athletes like, oh, well, who cares? This person's, making money, or he's this, or he's famous. Yeah. Who cares what happens to him? It's like, all right, these people are still people at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. So again, Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Listen, these 3 games again against San Francisco, the Padres are 2 games out of the wild card race. And we'll talk to Kevin Acee about everything that he's been writing, by the way, about the deadline. Dennis Lynn's been writing about the deadline. AJ Cassavell. Here's the one thing that I've noticed that's like played out, though. Does anyone have a really strong feel for ultimately what Preller will do? And that includes, like, we heard Jeff Passan earlier today. And Passan's like, he's got this really high asking price on Mason Miller. There's a high asking price on Adrian Morejon. Even does Jeff Passan know if Adrian Morejon is going to be traded?
I don't think he knows, but I think what he's trying to do in that situation is he's got a feel for the market and maybe what other teams are telling him. It's like, yeah, we are interested in Mason Miller, but you go try to talk to AJ Preller.
Yeah.
Price is too high, whatever the case is. So
right.
I think to answer your question, I do think we know what AJ Preller is going to do.
Which is like lean
like
in.
Yeah, and I guess that's the question. I guess the question is, is the question, how much does he lean in? That's a fair question, because I think most people believe Preller is going to buy, but I think the question could be, well, how aggressive is he going to be? That's a fair, I don't know what Preller is going to do from that perspective. And because I've seen Preller do both.
But do any of us, including our listeners, feel as if he's going to be uber aggressive? That would very much surprise me if he was extremely aggressive this year at the deadline, even if they win the next 3 games. Do I think he's going to be uber aggressive at the deadline? Not necessarily. I don't think so, but I do think he should add starting pitching. If he's going to see this thing through, I think he should add starting pitching. But I still don't think at the end of the day he's going to be overly aggressive, like to your point, he was as recently as last year in acquiring Mason Miller. That would surprise me if it played out again.
You know what I find fascinating, and you probably have as good of a feel for this as anybody in regards to fan interaction and fan opinion.
Yeah.
How do you feel most fans feel about this trade deadline?
They want the Padres to sell.
So what percentage do you think?
Over 50.
That's a little shocking.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, and I'm not saying they're wrong.
Right.
Because I could sit here and somebody could say, oh, I think they should sell. And it's not going to take much to convince me to go that direction.
Yep.
But that's shocking because typically fans are always extreme the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
Typically fans are always like, basically they're not the responsible ones. They're the ones that are making decisions off of passion. They're making decisions that are not objective.
Right.
What does that say to you? I mean, I'm looking at the chat right now.
Yep.
And like I said, I like using you as an example because you do so many of these live broadcasts and you're doing YouTube shows and everything else. What does that say if your fan base is telling you to sell? I'm serious. Like
I know.
That's kind of fascinating to me because I don't think that's the norm. I think the norm is always go trade for this guy, go this.
Right.
Perfect example.
Like you probably shouldn't, but everyone's saying, go.
It's 4th and 11. You're at your own 33. No, we're not going for it.
You're up 8. Like, why are we going for it?
You're not going for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's why I find that fascinating because I think that's a telling sign.
It is.
Because you had said something before, and I know we've talked about this, where it's like, yeah, but what are you going to tell your fan base if you go out and sell? Well, I'm trying to run a successful organization and a business, and there's going to be times that I have to make decisions that are not always the sexiest, not always the most popular. I just find that fascinating because I don't think that's the norm.
Yeah, and I've heard it over and over again, honestly, over the last month, that Padres fans, by and large, want to see the Padres sell, not buy at the deadline. What do you guys think? 877-767-4760. Kevin Acee on the other side. We'll give away tickets to see Toto in the 5 o'clock hour as well. Stay with us. Schaeffer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres take on the Giants for Game 2 of the 4-game series tonight after losing last night 4-1. They currently trail the Phillies for the last wildcard spot by 2 games. Whisenhunt set to make the start for the Giants, while the Padres will give the start to the young 22-year-old Rodriguez. He'll be making his 4th start of his career. Currently, the Phillies lead the Orioles 3-2 in the 4th inning. The D-backs trailing the Guardians 1-0 after 3. Tony Romo placed on leave today from CBS after his OWI arrest last Thursday. In NBA news, Victor Wembanyama lands a signature shoe line deal with Nike. Tomorrow night in MLS, SDFC takes on Minnesota United with pregame coverage starting at 5 p.m. here on San Diego Sports 760. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to the radio more today than they did 20 years ago. And only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
Kevin, we've made it to your final radio interview before the trade deadline on 760. I never thought we'd get here, but we have.
We got here.
And we welcome you back to Schaeffer and Sliwa. So we're less than 72 hours out. You've been doing reporting on this, obviously, all month. Where do you think the organization stands in terms of what they're thinking between now and Monday at 3 p.m.?
A starting pitcher, left-handed batter. I mean, those are the 2 things that I hear above all else, starting pitcher being the imperative. Also, maybe think of their 4 left-handed relievers. And I don't think Adrian Morejon's going anywhere, but I don't have any sort of solid to tell you that he's not. But think of their left-handed relievers, maybe even Bradley Rodriguez as like how they've used prospects in the past, dealing from a depth piece of their roster to try to get something done. But they've got some payroll they can add. I don't know how much, and I'm not even sure they've ultimately determined it. Things are just really starting to rock, I think, in terms of the starting pitcher market. So, but they've got room to make a deal and maybe add a little something. Plus, there's some teams that are willing to take on some salary of starting pitchers. So, yeah, even I am starting to get a little pumped. I mean, I can't wait till Monday at 4 o'clock. And we're talking about the trades that did happen. Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Kevin, is there anything that can happen over this weekend? I mean, John and I were throwing this out there, and we do believe that at the end of the day, Preller will still want to buy. But is there any scenario that plays out results wise versus the Giants that would temper some of that?
All I got was let's hope we don't have to find out. Yeah, I think it could. I can't tell you that's what I've been told, but sure. What, they go 0-3, and what if they go 0-3 and they're 5 games out? That changes the calculus, and that is why. And I don't not like to pump my own stuff. I don't ever do that on here, but I wrote a story last year about the process that the Padres go through and how it is based on people that have come from other organizations or who have left here and gone to other organizations. It is more intense. It is more complete than what other teams do. These guys are so prepared that if they go 0-3, they've already game planned 200 trades they could make to get rid of their players, to become sellers. So it will not be we got to change and scramble. I mean, it's different. They are every intention right now. It would be shocking, and they would have to go 0-3 and lose a couple games in the standings, and maybe not even then. But that's what would have to happen for them to be sellers.
That is really good insight from Kevin Acee, our Padres Insider. I did a YouTube show last night, and people are like, "Oh, they got to sell. They lost." I'm like, guys, they were gonna lose again. It's the sport of baseball. I mean. Yeah. Come on, they're going to lose a series again. They're going to lose multiple series likely in the final 53 games of the year. I guess my question about last night is, did we learn? I mean, against good pitching again, that they've run into this issue. Robbie Ray's an outstanding starting pitcher that has been pitching really well. He was effective enough yesterday. It was interesting what Craig Stammen had to say about him post game. But do you see last night as anything other than just one game, does that mean anything overly significant to you or not?
I'm kind of with you. We're like, but I mean, I can't dismiss it because of everything that you said. And people I talked to today didn't dismiss it in terms of, hey, did JP Sears really do that big of a disservice to them? And like the good thing to come out of it was like, you knew that, okay, JP Sears and whoever in this mishmash of starting pitching was going to give up some runs, right? They weren't going to continue to have a 1-something ERA and this conglomeration they're doing. But dang, Randy Vasquez. All right, cool. Let's see another one out of that. And then, that's great. But like, did JP Sears really do that bad, giving up 3 runs? And then I guess Wandy got charged with 1. Or should they maybe have frickin' scored a little bit more? Yeah, that's real for sure. It happens. But I don't want to dismiss it because it's happened too often. And I'll tell you what this is. My only thought last night was, all right, well, that makes Friday's game, that much more important. I mean, you've got to crush this kid tonight. The freaking Giants. You got to crush this kid. And you got to do the next night too. You can't do worse than splitting this series.
Kevin, we had a conversation a little bit earlier, and I'm curious with your interaction with Padre fans. Well, what has been, do you think there's been more Padre fans that look at the current situation in San Diego and, kind of an average team hovering around 500? Do you think more fans would like to see the Padres buy or sell? And John and I were talking about this, and I think what it comes down to for us, we're doing our stream live. Obviously there's comments coming in here. I know you and John do shows as well. Do you feel like there's more of the fan base that would like to sell or want to be aggressive and buy?
In no way am I putting anyone down. All I'm telling you is, and telling everybody is, we don't have any idea because there's only a certain kind of fan that is listening and watching your show and then commenting. That's a pretty hardcore fan. Now, you know who else is a hardcore fan? And obviously there's some crossover, but like the people who pay to come to the games. And obviously some of the people in your stream, they do too. But I'm saying that there's some that don't. They're not in your stream and they're paying thousands and thousands of dollars to come to games. And all I could ever think of in these moments is Xander Bogaerts is never booed here. Like the booed the way you would expect him to be booed based on online, right? Eric Hosmer was never booed here in anywhere near the way that you would expect based on online. And so I don't know, man, but my answer to you based on my feedback is yes. Oh my gosh, I've been kind of shocked, and it's really made me take a step back. And this is what I appreciate about fan interaction is that as long as it's reasoned, I take a look at myself and go, am I giving this enough thought? I need to respect what these people who are invested in this team as fans, what they're thinking. And it has been overwhelming, the idea that they should sell. But I just want to caution everybody that there's a gigantic segment out there that would be livid if they sold.
Yeah, there's a vocal minority, and it is somewhat anecdotal. It's hard to truly know, but you make really good points. Kevin Acee is with us right now on Schaeffer and Sliwa. What do you see as the bigger challenge right now at this time of year? Finding the money, the financial resources to make additions, or finding the prospect capital to add the pieces that are necessary?
Well, I don't know. It's maybe both. I mean, I don't know. They're somewhat independent of each other, somewhat related. But they don't have, as much as I'll defend that, first off, 2 things, and I'm writing about this right now. Okay. The difference between the number 30, whatever Baseball America and Keith Law and whoever else does these rankings, and the number 20 team is not like 10 spots. Oh my gosh. Right. It's just not. There might be some people that actually would flip-flop them, right? So there's that. And then also, like, maybe you're wrong. Maybe they're not the 30th. And so they have more prospects. But as much as I'll say that and defend them or at least try to point that out, I'll say they don't have the prospects to counter the fact that they don't have money, which is what they've had in the past, right? We don't want to add too much payroll, 24 and 25, or any at all last year. So we will throw in far more prospects than are necessary, right? Like the Orioles paid virtually all of Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano's remaining salary, but the Padres gave them like 6 draft picks in 2024.
Right.
And so they don't have that. Well, I guess they could do that. They could give, somebody, I guess. But they don't have the Leo DeVries to nail the Mason Miller deal. And they don't probably have, I forget who the kid, he's actually doing pretty well for the Orioles in their single A or something right now. They don't have that guy that's exciting people to make that move, supposedly. Now, what I would caution everybody is, I forget which year it was, but the Padres supposedly had the 28th system, like 23 or something like that. And so then in 24, they were able to do that at the trade deadline and get Tanner Scott and Brian Hoeing and Jason Adam. And I will contend to you all day long, the Padres don't make the playoffs and aren't like the team that everyone's now disappointed they didn't beat the Dodgers because that was like a really good chance to beat the Dodgers. They're not that team without those three relievers. So AJ finds a way. I'm not saying he always will, but he has. So that's what I'm excited to see. Does that happen with time?
Kevin Acee taking some time to join us here, Schaeffer and Sliwa Show, San Diego Sports 760. Kevin, we played a clip a little bit earlier, and curious to get your thoughts on it. Jeff Passan was on with Pat McAfee, and he said something to the effect of what the price tag is for Mason Miller is the market saying that's way too high. What does that tell you? Does that tell you that AJ Preller just is not interested in trading away Mason Miller and is basically saying it's got to be something absurd? Or do you think AJ Preller is overvaluing Mason Miller compared to what the rest of the market is saying?
I think that it is AJ Preller saying, it's basically what you're saying about he's not interested in trading him.
Yeah.
Hey, but if you want to do this, then we can talk. So, but it's not overpricing him any more than the Tigers are overpricing Skubal right now, or the Mets are overpricing Peralta right now. That's why we haven't seen anything yet. Right? I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who just wants to get rid of the freaking thing. So here, $200? Yeah, let's got a deal because I need to go take a nap. But that is how this happens. And so, yes, he's overpricing Miller perhaps, right? But everyone's overpricing everybody right now. The difference, I think, is that's truly what AJ means, because I just can't say it loud enough. Even in 20, they only got Trevor Rosenthal, but who was past his prime, but he was a good closer at that time, I believe, for the Royals. In 22, they got Josh Hader. They already had the back end of the bullpen. In 24, they went and got, just like I just said, Adam and Scott. In 25, they went and got frickin' Mason Miller when they had Robert Suarez. AJ believes that this is the most important thing you have to have in the playoffs. Okay. And so I just if you're getting rid of Mason Miller, you're selling. So I guess if the Yankees want to give them their top 3 prospects, AJ might go, because he believes he could turn those 3 prospects into, gold elsewhere at a later time or whatever. But I think he also knows that's not going to happen.
Kevin, my final one is you wrote about a timeline here potentially for Pivetta and Musgrove that's coming into focus maybe as soon as the next 3 weeks, returning to a major league mound. So for our listeners that missed it, is that where it stands without setbacks? We could see him soon.
Yes, without setbacks. And I think we talked about this. I talked to a lot of people, and people say a lot of things, and you got to weigh it. I just got to tell you the sincerity and the genuineness with which the optimism level and the lack of caveats they're always there. Well, if this, or let's not get too far ahead of ourselves or whatever. There is genuine optimism that they'll get those guys back. And I believe there's genuine optimism that at least one of them is going to be able to get them the 7, whatever, to 10 starts that at the level that they would need for these guys. Because that's the reality is, here's what I'm hearing, one starting pitcher, because you got to have someone like Randy Vasquez, Bueller, and Pivetta / Musgrove to go along with King. They may need to put, and let's say they have $4.5 million to add. They can't get 2 starters with that unless they, throw away more prospects or whatever. So they need those guys, and they believe at least one of those guys is going to pitch they'll need them. So whatever that means, is that a number 2 and number 3? Look, both of these guys are at a point with elbow history. They could be done at any time, but that doesn't mean they can't give the Padres like really good pitching for the rest of this season. And it also doesn't mean they couldn't be good pitchers next year. I'm just saying, like, the way these elbow injuries are, I mean, eventually it's given out. Sorry, it is. So, like, but they believe that. I'm trying to stress that. It's not like, oh, if they come back. That's how it was a month or two ago. It's not that way now. Pavetta Musgrove back in August is the belief. And of course, the body's a crazy thing. There could be a setback.
Kevin, real quick, just to follow up on that, is one of them further along than the other, or it's still to be determined?
It might be that Joe is further along, but like there's all these different things too. So you want me to go real quick? It's just like, no, they're about the same. They're on the same day apart from each other. Joe might be a little further along. That doesn't mean he will be in like 2 weeks.
I have one question, even though we're up against it. Do you have things written for what may play out? You know what I mean? Like, do you prepare for the trade deadline in any form or fashion on paper, so to speak?
You know, it's funny. I have before, but I've had a little idea, and I just wrote. Like there aren't hints like there have been in some of these last years of blockbusters, right? We all knew. I mean, I was up at 4 a.m. ready, and I was talking to people on the Padres in 2022. I never left the ballpark basically. I was staying at the hotel and staring out right now because, like, you knew one sort of was happening in the morning. Let's go, right? Didn't know Mason Miller, knew it was going to be a busy day. None of the stories I wrote, by the way, the little blurbs I wrote, none of those players came. So that was a huge waste of time. But no, so this year I'm starting to hear some things about names, but I haven't got to the point where I'm writing those because I don't know, like some of them don't make sense and whatever. But then that's what always makes me laugh. Look, Padres have checked in on Luis Ariz. He wants to play second base. I don't see how they afford Luis Ariz unless the Giants take something, or all of a sudden I see Jake Cronenworth warming up in the outfield, before games or something like that. So that's the kind of crazy stuff. I almost said a bad word. You know how I am about the trade deadline, John.
That'd have been awesome.
The kind of crazy stuff you hear this time of year. But because you cover a team that AJ Preller's the general manager, you go, oh crap! I kind of have to believe it might be possible.
I'm glad you answered in that manner. That was great for our listeners. Kevin, we'll talk to you Monday. It'll be a busy day, I'm sure, but we'll talk to you after all the insanity at some point on Monday.
Right on. Take care.
Reaction to that conversation with Kevin Acee on the other side, plus Neil Sika, Apple TV, getting us ready for SDFC on Saturday. Coming up this hour on Schaeffer and Sliwa.
All right, with the iHeartRadio app, you can now stream us wherever you are 24 hours a day. Just search for San Diego Sports 760 to stream us live all day, every day. You can leave your comments for us using that talkback microphone. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want us to talk about. Make us a preset so we can pop up each time when you open up that app. San Diego Sports 760, always live on the iHeartRadio app.
Neil Sika, play-by-play broadcaster for Apple TV, will join us at 5:30, getting us ready for SDFC Minnesota United this weekend. You can hear it on 760. Let the record state, Kevin Acee said the Padres are buyers again. He went down the path, did the exercise again, right? 0 for 2 with your shots today.
Do you believe him? Do you believe him, yes or no?
You can't get Jack in the middle. I want
the honesty, Jack. Do you believe him?
I believe
no?
him. You're lucky I can't see the trash can.
Okay, do me a favor. Get up here real quick. I want you to get up.
You want me to go look?
I want you to go take a look here.
Yeah. Now,
and now you're going to find out whether you can trust this man or you can't. Correct. Right here.
Yeah, okay? But remember, Alan always has a trick up his sleeve.
So that was two shots I took. Both of them went in, and all this guy can say is it didn't go in. And then we turn, and the trust he has in you is what hurts me.
Here's the thing.
You have built trust with these people,
with the listeners,
on a false flag.
No, hear me out. When I used to work in the minors, people would come in the booth and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy. How do you do play-by-play? How'd you know it was a curveball?" And I would say between innings, "I don't know it's a curveball. I would just, but if I say it, it is." Like, you just got to say it with conviction.
On radio where there's no video towards the evidence. Correct.
You know what's
hurt
funny?
you in TV. That would hurt you in TV.
When I first met John,
it was a
that was one of the
98 mile per hour curveball.
Yeah, exactly. What do you got?
I was saying the first time I met you, I remember
me saying
asking
that
you.
You're like, yeah, how do I label
How
pitches?
do I know what pitch is
Like, dude, there's 2 pitches, fastball, breaking ball.
I remember that vividly.
Just say breaking ball if it's not a fastball.
Right.
You know, it could be a changeup, but that's how you do it.
You're like, it's a curved fastball. It's the first one ever thrown.
Just lie to the audience. I'm kidding. All right, Neil Sika, Apple TV, coming up in about 7 minutes.
That's a good quote to run a promo on. Just lie to the audience. Listen to Schaeffer and Sliwa.
So Kevin didn't even want to go down the path of, well, if they lose the next 3 games, now they're sellers.
Yeah.
He's like, they're still probably buyers.
They're not losing the next 3 games.
Agree.
So even if this was an awful series against the Giants and they went 1-3, already losing one yesterday, they're at 500 and he's still buying.
Right.
I'm still going to go back to this kind of conversation that we've had.
Yeah.
And I asked him the same thing about what are fans telling him from his perspective, whether they should buy or sell.
Right.
I don't think this is a, how do I put it? I think there's some real genuine feedback from the fans. Now, I get his point. He said that, but if they do end up selling, you're going to have a big fan base that's saying, well, what the hell are you doing this, that? But I find that fascinating. That, to me, by far, playing out these last couple of weeks, I think that's the thing that has stood out to me, that the fan base is saying this ain't it. And at least the fan base is saying, and maybe this has more to do with because it's AJ Preller and how aggressive he has been. And how when you do open up the cupboards, it's like, there's nothing left in here.
Right.
I wonder how much that has to do with because it's the history of AJ Preller.
I will say you need to be a little careful with feedback. It's like every election cycle. People are like, oh, this candidate's going to win by so much. Did you see social media? Had 100,000 likes. Can you believe this candidate? This is the misstep, man. And it's never as simple as that. There's so much feedback.
I think you and I do enough to get fan interaction.
Oh, yeah, we get a lot of it.
And I think that there comes a point where you're like, yeah, but that is the real narrative. I'm going to give you an example. I'll give you an example, and I think this plays a little bit into it. Okay, I do a Laker NBA podcast every single day. I could have told you a year ago, most Laker fans wanted LeBron gone. A year ago.
Right.
Told you probably 2 years ago, they were starting to kind of get annoyed, this and that. Now, you might say, oh, no, that's not the case. It's just that people are just saying this over time. You get a true feeling of, okay, this is probably the narrative. I think this is the narrative from a Padre fan. I don't see Padre fans every direction that they possibly can saying, no, this is it where you buy. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that.
Most of it is towards selling.
Most of it is towards selling.
Although I will say that if they tear the thing down in a couple of days, I think there will be a lot of feedback the other way.
What are they going to say? Like, what are people going to say? They're
like, oh, we're going to be rebuilding for 5 years.
Yeah,
we're back to being the small market Padres.
But that's a different conversation than that's a different conversation than saying, is that best long-term for the Padres? Like, I think if they sold tomorrow and they sold everything, Michael King, Mason Miller, Adrian Morejon, they started selling like, this ain't it. We got to figure out our future. Not that everybody's going to pull up and say, hey, I can't wait for the next 3-4 years of doing nothing. Like, nobody's going to be excited about that, but there'll probably be an understanding of why that is. Then it will turn to AJ Preller and saying, well, what the hell were you trading all these guys for these last couple of years? Or why'd you sign this guy, that guy? There'll still be anger about it, but that doesn't mean that kind of takes away of what some fans or most fans could be advising you to do right now.
Yeah, I just think it would set in stone this idea that all of a sudden you become a little bit of an also-ran. And like the period of time where you were run by Peter Seidler, you're nowhere near that organization anymore. And you're like back in your like corner. Like, now go be the quiet little Padres again. You were cute for a few years, but go sell off like you're supposed to.
But that's the problem. Like, I think that looking at it like that, if the ultimate goal was they wanted to win, okay, they swung, they tried, they were as aggressive as any other franchise in all of baseball, but they also have failed. Like, I think there's a piece of it where if it didn't happen or it didn't come to fruition, are you supposed to just keep pretending like, well, it's going to happen this year?
That's what they're about to do.
I know that's what
they're about to do. Neil Sika, Apple TV, getting us ready for SDFC tomorrow night. Stay with us on Schaeffer and Sliwa.
Good segment.
Good segment, bro.
How's your injury attorney guy doing?
Good. He's on board, dude.
Yeah, I heard him in one of the reads. Is he happy with it? Is he just?
I haven't heard anything, but I'm just billing him every month for the rest of the year.
Good.
So I think it's been fine.
I think it's a good category.
So I have too many sponsors. I'd much prefer.
How many now?
Fuck it. Okay. But I'd much prefer to have 2 and just charge them double.
So is 5 like every show?
I've been doing it that way. Yeah.
There's a way to do it around that. I'll tell you what
Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network presented by iHeartAdvertising.com. The Padres will take on the Giants for Game 2 of the 4-game series tonight after losing last night 4-1. They currently trail the Phillies and the D-backs by 2 games for a wild card spot. Whisenhunt set to make the start for the Giants, while the Padres will give the start to the 22-year-old Rodriguez. He's making his 4th career start on the mound today. Phillies currently leading against the Orioles. The Cubs losing earlier today after dropping that game 2-0, and the D-backs still trailing the Guardians 1-0. Tony Romo placed on leave today from CBS after his OWI arrest last Thursday. And then Johnny Infantino scrapping his plans to have the sell-off in FIFA. Tomorrow night in MLS, SDFC takes on Minnesota United with pregame coverage starting at 5 p.m. here on San Diego Sports 760. Run a business and not thinking about radio? Think again, because people are listening to radio more today than they did 20 years ago, and only iHeartRadio connects with more Americans than TV, digital, even social. Learn how radio can help your business. Call 844-844-iHeart.
Final show, Alan, before the trade deadline. Where has the time gone, man? We started this show at the start of the season, right?
Yeah.
So we've watched this thing play out, and here
Where's
we are.
the time go? What do you mean, where's the time gone? We've watched every game. I remember every show up to this point. It's
that's where it's going.
We're grinding through a baseball season
and a soccer season. We're going to catch up in a moment with Neil Sika. He covers MLS for Apple TV. SDFC is playing Minnesota United coming up this weekend. You can hear it on San Diego Sports 760. They are important matches, obviously. This time of year, we're heading towards the All-Star break. We're heading into the second half of the year. And obviously, SDFC is not in the same position they were a year ago.
No, not at all.
Right? I mean,
not
a year ago, they were so well positioned in the West. That's not the case now in year 2.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings right now. You know, SDFC, so 12th. So even with that last win, 12th in the Western Conference. I mean, only a couple of teams. Like, that's why they played Colorado a couple of weeks ago. They play the Rapids.
Yeah.
You're about to, that game's going to end 0-0.
Yeah, and then they allowed the late goal.
The last goal or the last kick, basically, Colorado scores and you lose a point right there. Colorado gains 3. So they've had such a frustrating season, and if they're going to turn it around, it started last week, which it did.
Neil Sika will be on the call for Apple TV. SDFC, Minnesota United coming up this weekend. Tomorrow, you can hear the match on San Diego Sports 760. Neil, we appreciate you taking time for us in San Diego. We were just saying kind of what a difference a year makes, right? SDFC, the talk of Major League Soccer a year ago. They've taken that step back, certainly still in the playoff conversation, but how do you see what's played out with SDFC over the last year from where they were to where they are?
Welcome to the middle, gentlemen. This is MLS. And I'm not saying that they can't recover or won't recover, because I still think they have a really good team, but you hate to use the cliche of the law of averages, but everything was so many sunshine and roses type moments for them last season. And to be quite honest, I think the way they started the season, you thought that was going to continue. Didn't allow a goal in the first 3 games, 3-0. I had the game in Kansas City, and then you get kind of congested there with everything that was going on in the Champions Cup, the red card parade that was going on for a good chunk of April, and the 5-game losing streak. But I think taking results in 5 of their last 7, I know they lost 2 or 3, but however they found a way to win that game last week against a very good Dallas team could be a step in the right direction. And having said that, now you're going right back into the thick of a 3-game road trip plus Leagues Cup smack dab in the middle of it. But, this is a roster, I think, that's been through a lot already this season. And with the success they had last year, there's no reason to think that they can't make a charge to get back into the playoff mix in the West.
Just from a pure soccer standpoint, what gives you that optimism that they can start working their way back up in the standings? Just what do you see from them, or the talent that they have, or strategy-wise that you feel, hey, that the San Diego FC they should not be 12th in the Western Conference, and you think that can change?
Well, we all want Spain, right, in the World Cup.
Yep.
I'm not making that jump, but what does San Diego do best? They're on the ball, they control games, and they can pick you apart with a pass and their levels of elevation through the lines. And I think that's something that's always been at least the identity and the feather of the cap. And you've had multiple announcers tell you that. You've seen it with your own eyes. And I still think, by and large, they can control games and still win games. I think it's the finishing. I think it's adding the elements of personnel now with Achuri coming into the fold. And you're getting some reinforcements that might help this attack bolster, at least in terms of its goal scoring contributions. Dreyer, he's played a lot. You know, he comes into the league last year and takes it by storm and didn't really have a lot of time off. So I think the World Cup break is going to do a lot of these guys well too. You get Tverskov back to health, but I think the temperament of just controlling games, that's something that not a lot of teams in this league are going to venture forward and do so on a regular basis. They may look for different avenues, but I think if you can control the game with the ball, they can manipulate what they want, and there's going to be plenty of opponents to do that against.
Neil Sika, Apple TV. Again, SDFC, Minnesota United coming up tomorrow. You can also hear the match right here on San Diego Sports 760 or watch on Apple. Neil, bigger picture, how do you see what we saw play out this summer with the World Cup impacting Major League Soccer now and moving forward?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think everyone wants to jump on that conversation topic, whether it be MLS, whether it be what's the next run of development for the youth of the country after we see the U.S. bow out again in the round of 16. It's fun to get on the hamster wheel and then get into the pay-to-play discussion. Or do we need better coaching? Do we need better scouting? I think, yeah, there's a yes to all of that. I think for MLS now, this window of knowing that there are so many good players out there, and they're bringing in a lot of guys who have had tons of feathers in their cap through the years, a Lewandowski, a Griezmann, but there's still a lot of good young players out there. I think there's a chance to take advantage now with this conversation that's going to be massive about exploring the opening up of the roster rules. And can we have a little bit more fluidity with what can be spent, how much can be spent, and not having such for lack of a better word, Byzantine structure from what we've been operating with over the course of 30 years. Look, there's a reason that the training wheels were in place for such a long time, and the timid nature of how this league wanted to operate in the early days and barely surviving just past into the early 2000s. But I think now is the time where you've got a lot of progressive ownership with everyone who's kind of come into the league wanting to take that next mantle and go into MLS 3.0. And I think that can be the boon to also finding young talent, developing, of course, the talent that you're farming here with the academies, and keeping good players within the league that are right in their sweet spot, whether they're ready to enter their prime. I'm not saying it's not going to still be a seller's league, but I think you can keep a lot more of those guys around, have core teams that are within their 27 to 30 age, or even 25 to 30 age, and take the next step if you relinquish some of the roster rules that you've had over the last several years. And I think the calendar switch too is going to help that.
Neil, just looking at the rest of the Western Conference, a couple teams stand out to you that you feel like are going to be kind of carrying the West the rest of the regular season. I know we got a chance last year, obviously, to face Vancouver, and we know how great they are. Mm-hmm. LAFC always seems like they're in the mix. What are a couple teams that you think are going to carry the West?
Yeah, I think those two. The big loss, though, for Vancouver, and it's funny for me to say this, not because I'm looking down on him and where he was 3 years ago, but what Sebastian Berhalter has done as the nucleus of that team, and now going off to Middlesbrough, and the energy and the spark. And you could even see it when he would come off the bench with the United States national team, and how good of a damn player he's become. The element of replicating that within Vancouver's locker room, within their midfield, I think they've got plenty of great talent to still get the job done. But LAFC is going to nip at their heels. They were kind of going through a little bit of a malaise. Son is now starting to score. Bouanga, they're in position, especially where they really haven't gone out and found that attacking type midfielder over the past 2 or 3 seasons. That might even take them to being one of the premier teams, if not they aren't already premier teams on the continent. So I think those two are placeholders. Seattle is in a spiral that I have not seen them in quite some time, probably a decade plus. Dallas is another team I would look at. You just saw them with San Diego. If they get another attacking midfield piece, somewhat of a chance creator with their strike force, as long as they hang on to Musa, I think I love the way they defend under Quill. That was a game that probably could have gone either way. And I know San Diego fans are holding their breath the way it finishes out last week. They're a team for me that I think could be in the mix in the top three should they find or add a piece here. Salt Lake is very good. I think they're young. And then it's kind of a toss-up the rest of the way. Even a Minnesota team, right, who's had a great run last year and finds themselves in the Western semifinal. They're missing kind of that attacking punch. They're still doing it kind of the same way. They're evolving a little bit under Cameron Knowles with the ball, so on and so forth, and having some progressive possession, but they're not finishing chances, and they still will beat you and go to their tried and true on set pieces and restart. So there's plenty to look at in the West, and I think it's anyone's game, much like the East outside of Nashville and Miami. It's just a cluster of teams where I don't think anyone's really gotten full sea legs outside of a few that could really punch up to the top of the East or the West and then say, let's make a run at MLS Cup. I think there's still someone out there that could do so. And in the West, those are some of the teams that I would look to make noise.
SDFC, Minnesota United, tomorrow at 5:30 Pacific. You can watch it on Apple TV. You can listen to it right here on San Diego Sports 760. Neil, we appreciate you taking a few minutes for our listeners, and have a good call, all right?
Gents, thanks. Looking forward to it and down the road.
Appreciate it.
All right. We lost Neil there at the very end, but we appreciate him hopping on. Neil Sika with Apple TV. We'll be calling that one tomorrow at 5:30. All right. On the other side, we have a breaking news story related to the future of college sports. As we also wait on the trade deadline. We're here until 6 on Schaeffer and Sliwa. I guess the Big Ten and the SEC. All right, final time, Schaeffer and Sliwa before the trade deadline, because when we're on the air Monday, Alan, the deadline, turn your mic on, will have passed.
Can you be smoother, please? Just a little smoother.
It's not very smooth. So do you want to make any predictions real quick?
I think they go 2-1 over the weekend. I think they're 2 games. What does that put them at? Yeah, 2 games over 500. Probably right. Means they split the series against San Francisco. I think they make some moves. I don't think it's I don't think anything blockbuster is happening. I think there'll be some more calculated moves. I'll leave it at that. And then they'll add a starting pitcher and hope that they can get Joe Musgrove or Nick Pivetta back. And really, what are they? It would give them enough to try to fight against a lot of average teams to get in the wild card spot.
I like that. I agree with 2-1 over the weekend. I think Miller stays. I think they do add a mid-tier starting pitcher, and they might overpay to do it. But I do think they'll add at least a mid-tier starting pitcher, and I think they'll have multiple moves to address their major league team. I think one of them will be to add starting pitching. We have a developing story related to college athletics from Ross Dellinger, who's great in the college space. Remember, they've been trying to pass this bill for months, the Protect College Sports Act. It has felt dead in the water at times because the SEC and the Big Ten have opposed it. They are the biggest leagues. Well, there's an 11th hour scenario playing out where the Big Ten and SEC, according to Ross Dellinger, may be on the brink of striking a deal with lawmakers over this act. He writes, the 11th hour scramble included engagement from the President of the United States on the deal. So we may be inching closer. Remember, Congress breaks in August. So we're a week away, and then Congress is gone for over a month. It has to get done prior to that. It may.
Yeah, J.D. Wicker said, the athletic director for San Diego State University, when they did their media day a week ago for football, he had mentioned something to the effect that it might not get done. And it felt like it was going to have to come,
a year from now or more.
Whenever it was, right? So if this gets done, and maybe you got more knowledge on this, and I think there's probably a lot of our listeners that don't know really how this affects college football.
Yeah.
So as best as you can explain it, I'd explain it. Dumb it down as much as you can, because I think here's the reality. At the end of the day, what I'd ask myself, and I think what a lot of San Diegans would ask themselves, if they went to San Diego State University, how does this affect San Diego State University? Does it positively affect them? Does it negatively affect them? How would you describe it?
Positively, and here's why. You need a set of rules that everyone can play by, even if the rules are set up to benefit others. You still need rules. And by Congress acting, it's going to prevent all this BS, dude. Alabama has a player that can't play. They go to the Tuscaloosa judge who says, you know what, we're going to grant an injunction. And the NCAA has no teeth in the state-by-state matters. Therefore, Alabama's quarterback, this played out in Mississippi, whatever his name is, Trinidad Chambliss, has a 7th year because he was granted an injunction in the state of Mississippi. The NCAA can do nothing about it. It would change with the congressional act. Also, the second thing that's so important.
Which means rules that are set, they're across the board, and they can't go back to like a state.
Can't go to a state court. It would be a federal law. The other thing that it would set in place is a hard cap for resources and spending on rosters. A huge number, right? Jack, do you know what the number is?
Not only, well, I don't know the number, but also conference
affiliation.
The amount of members within each conference.
Well, that's a whole other part of it. But it would also say, hey, if you're going to spend $40 million a year, you can't go outside to boosters and bring additional money in. This is a massive problem right now in college athletics. So you're going to set a hard cap, talking about baseball. You know what I mean? This has been a conversation. And you're going to eliminate the injunctions. Now, our program's going to be able to jump from the G6 to the P4. Is Boise or San Diego State going to be able to make that leap like, Utah made 20 years ago and TCU made? Sure. Yes, there's caveats in there to allow it, but that's a little grayer for me. But I do think it just sets guardrails, which are clearly needed.
So are you saying that conferences will have, there's only so many schools that can be in a conference? Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah,
I believe it was 20.
Yeah, 19 or 20.
Yeah. So but the Big Ten and SEC would have some decisions to make.
But that leaves life rafts in the ACC and the Big 12 because those leagues, I forget where they were, either 14, 15, or 16. But if you could get as large as 19, they would still have vacancies to potentially add. And even the Big Ten and SEC would have vacancies because neither are at 20 right now or
18,
even 19.
I believe. 18.
Is the SEC at 18 or 16? I think it's
Big
16.
Ten's 18.
Yeah.
I
think
SEC's close.
16.
Yeah.
All right. So if you tell me that's good for San Diego State University and opens up some different opportunities, then, I'm all ears. I think just for the state of college football just sounds like a cleaner version. That's why, we'll go back to the baseball analogy that you had. I mean, don't you want to have just a more competitive field across the board? And even if you're telling your baseball teams you got to spend, here's the floor, here's the ceiling, don't we then have some guardrails? Like that, the NFL has guardrails. The NBA has guardrails. College football can definitely use guardrails. College athletics can use guardrails. Not all these universities are created equal, and that's fine. That's okay. Like schools are always going to have advantage. By the way, San Diego State's going to have an advantage over some others. Schools because they are in Southern California.
And Ohio State's going to have advantages over Purdue in the same league because they just are built in.
Yes. So I think with that being said, and Purdue's going to have an advantage over San Diego State because they're in a better conference. Yeah. Like I'm saying that there's always going to be advantages and disadvantages, but some guardrails sounds like that's healthy for the sport.
And the latest reporting is Ross Dellinger reporting it's official. Big Ten presidents have approved voting for the Protect College Sports Act. That then gets their Congress members in line. Now that the Big Ten has said yes, that of course will get the congressional members in those states in line. Now the SEC will vote tonight. That will get those congressional members potentially in line.
And by the way, is this beating that timeline of kicking this down the road for?
Yeah, this beats it. This is before Congress breaks for summer session, but I don't know when it would actually be fully made law. Is it 2026 or is it
may take a year?
From today? I don't know the answer.
But still
on that,
it's good news.
Yeah, it's a big story. Yeah. It is a really big national college story. All right, trade deadline, guys. 70 hours away. The trade deadline in Major League Baseball. What impact will it have on the San Diego Padres? Potentially a significant one. And I can't wait to see what happens around baseball. Where is Tarek Skubal going?
Sure.
Is Mason Miller standing pat? What are the other big names?
Yeah, what other teams? What are the teams that are most aggressive that you're in a wild card race in the NL? Is Philadelphia? Bryce Harper's playing for the Phillies earlier this week to basically, we need help. How much of that will come to effect? Is Arizona going to be aggressive? What teams that are in the wild card race today that decide we're selling, we're getting the hell out of here?
And I'm interested.
We have an opportunity to cash in, and other teams are probably going to cash in. And I don't think that's going to be the Padres.
I'm waiting on that first significant move. There have been moves over the last 3 or 4 days. They haven't been the biggest names that are on the market. Who is the first big name to move? For example, the Mets today scratching Freddie Peralta, their starter. They don't want to risk pitching him. They want to keep him healthy
Makes
for
sense.
an impending move. Good job by Jack today.
Phenomenal.
Does he stay and Brent go?
Oh, no, we can't do that to Brent.
What is happening, man?
I'm asking the question.
You did a great job. It's obviously Brent's seat. I know you understand that. And don't listen to Schaeffer and don't trust him based off that shot that I hit earlier that he said I didn't hit.
I don't know. It's hard to doubt John.
It's hard to doubt John. Did you hear that?
You don't have to doubt anything. You just go look at the trash can.
Brent is back Monday. Is that true?
Oh, yes. Actually, I don't know. Is he back?
By the way, we buried the lead. Where is he? Is he his family?
Celebrate his birthday.
Brent had a birthday this week that we did not recognize on air, but Brent doesn't want to be right.
It's on the TV.
It's on the TV, and I noticed it the day after his birthday, or maybe today, because it's been 2 days, I think, since his birthday. All right. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com or the iHeartRadio app. For Jack Powers and Alan, I'm
Good
John.
Stuff, brother. Good
Keep
stuff.
Keep it here. Schaeffer Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. Thanks, guys.